Notice is hereby given that the Board of Directors of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District of the County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, will hold a regular meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, January 11th, 2022 at 13919 West Utah Avenue, Lakewood, Colorado, 80228. This meeting will be held for the purpose of conducting such business as may come before the board. This meeting is open to the public. This is a virtual meeting only due to the recent Jefferson County Public Health Order. The district will hold this meeting by a video/conference call. To attend, please go to https://us06web.us/j/j/895-3322-5776 or call 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting ID 895-3322-5776. To troubleshoot with the connections at this time of the meeting, please follow the link https://hc/us/en-us/sections/230-5593 troubleshooting. If you still experience issues, email customer service at greenmountainwater.org and our IT staff will assist you as soon as possible. The district does not discriminate on the basis of race, age, national origin, color, creed, religion, sex, sexual orientation, or disability in the provision of services. People with disabilities needing reasonable accommodations to attend or participate in a district board meeting can call 303-985-1581 or email customer service at greenmountainwater.org for assistance. Please give notice as far in advance as possible so we can accommodate your request. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 1, call to order and a declaration of a quorum. Jeff Baker, present.
Todd Hooks, present.
Karen Morgan, present.
Dave Garner, present.
Alex Plotkin, are you out there? I'm going to declare a quorum. We have 4 directors online. We have any directors matters or agenda. I'm going to close agenda item number 1 and move on to agenda item number 2, directors matters, disclosure matters. Do the directors have anything to disclose?
No, but can we do a sound check on Director Plotkin? I see his mic going on and off, but I'm not hearing him. Is anybody else hearing him?
No.
Alex, you might be muted on your mic itself.
Sam, do you have it set to global unmute?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's unmuted through Zoom. Just not getting any audio through his input.
Can Alex hear us? Thumbs up.
Alex, you can
Sounds like we got it right there.
Troubleshoot through it too.
Give a sound tech. I think you just got it, Alex.
Hello?
Yep.
There you go.
You're good.
Okay, thank you.
So we have all 5 directors and we're declaring a quorum. We're closing agenda item 1, moving on to agenda item number 2, directors matters, disclosure of matters. Does anybody have anything to disclose?
No.
Okay, we will close agenda item number 2. We will open agenda item number 3, approval of additions to and deletions from agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the newsletter item from the agenda for today. I think there's a few other items we got to attend to. So I'd like to make a motion to remove the newsletter discussion.
I second it.
Thank you.
Discussion, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Sounds like we have a 5 ayes, 0 nays, so we will move or delete the newsletter item off of the agenda, which is under Directors Matters.
I have another motion if that's okay, Mr. President.
Yeah, hang on just a second so I can clarify. So it's under item Directors Matters, agenda item 10,
B.
and we will strike subset B.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Director Plotkin.
I would like to add under the legal items, a discussion of the legal ethics complaint.
Okay, do you want to make I make a motion, please?
I will make a motion to add an item. I believe this will be under the legal matters since there is no sub point. So just as in sub point A of an ethics complaint, legal ethics complaint.
Okay, I will second that. Do we have any discussion? No discussion, call for a vote. All in favor of adding this to the agenda, say aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, 0 nays, so we will add Director Plotkin's request under item 11, legal matters, subset A, for the record. Is there
Thank you.
any other approval of additions to or deletions from the agenda? All right, I will close out agenda item 3. We'll move into agenda item number 4, public comment. Limit 5 minutes per person. Per past motion of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board of Directors, May 11, 2021, members of the public wishing to address the board during the public comment period are asked to keep the comments civil and related to the items in the agenda or to the conduct of the district business. Members of the public wishing to address the board will be recognized by the board to maintain proper decorum. Since the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board values your input, we always offer additional opportunities for the public to provide comments by using the district's email system or by phoning into customer service in the event they do not get on during the meeting, during the period set aside for public comment. So I'm going to open it up for public comment. Jesse or Sam, do we have anybody that would like to speak?
Looks like we have Dave Wickman with his hand raised. Dave, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I took a quick glance at the agenda today, the package, and I noticed that the financials and looking at our investments, and I knew Todd was trying to find some better investments. Anyway, my daughter mentioned the other day that she thought she saw something about the Treasury Department was selling bonds. I don't know if it's T-bills or whatever, but she was thinking that it was like 7% interest and it was relatively low amounts, like $10,000 maybe, and relatively short periods, like 6 months. I can't verify any of that stuff, but thought you might want to check into that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wickman. That will be discussed under agenda item 8, financial matters, subset D, investment options. We'll talk about that under there. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the board at this time? Okay, going once, going twice. Jesse, Sam, is there anyone with their hands raised or called in?
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I don't see anyone. I don't even see any callers. So,
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to close agenda item number 4, public comment. Move on to agenda item 5, approval of the minutes. We have the December 14, 2021 regular meeting minutes Is everyone good with that?
I had submitted some edits. Did all the directors have a chance to review them and everybody's okay with them?
I'm good.
Yes, I am as well.
Thank you.
If that's good with the board, I would like to make a motion to approve the December 14th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, Dave.
So Dave Garner gave a second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion. Call the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, 0 nays, approving the December 14th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
I believe Alex Carlson has a question on that.
Go ahead.
Real quickly, Alex or Miss Buck, if you could send me those edits just for my own learning experience to make them better in the future, I'd appreciate it.
Kristen, it looks like you're muted. Might be on your headset.
There we go. Sorry. I send out a copy that I go through, and then Alex typically has some other comments that he wants highlighted from the discussion. So there'll be 2 types of revisions. I wouldn't expect you to necessarily pick up the things that come through from the directors all the time, but I'll send you both versions so you can see how that goes. I'll have a clean copy ready for signature. And when we get to financials, we can talk about who can come in to sign checks and all of the signing appointments since we're fully remote.
Kristen, I'll be in tomorrow, if that's
Thank
okay.
you.
Of everything, what time do you think it'll all be ready?
Mid-morning, maybe checks
Okay.
will be ready anytime. I think Doug has all the checks ready to go. So yeah, if you want to come in, first thing pretty early, that'd be great. And if we could get a second one to come in tomorrow as well, he'd prefer to get those out the door sooner than later.
I'll do.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay. Anyone available to come in tomorrow morning, mid-morning, or, to help with signatures?
I should be able to if you need.
Okay. Thanks, Director Hooks. I appreciate that. Okay.
And then since we're here on minutes and Alex didn't speak up, we'll have the minutes, and I have just a general notice of all the meeting dates that typically gets posted at this time of year. So those couple of things would be signed by Alex. Alex, do you have a day in mind to come in this week?
I can swing by in the morning, probably if Doug or somebody will be available just to have them.
Okay, like what time?
I can be there around 8 o'clock, so maybe Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, that'd be great. That'd give me time to get a clean copy of the minutes ready and anything else that comes up tonight
Thank you.
as we go. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, we'll close agenda item number 5. The minutes were approved. Signatures, we'll have everybody, Director Hooks and Director Baker will report into the district office tomorrow to put signatures as required. I'm going to open up agenda item number 6, maintenance report. Austin, you have the floor.
Austin was excused today. He had a little bit of a rough afternoon. So I'll give the maintenance report and talk about a few things. Cellular endpoints are still ongoing. Kind of same information there. Just one main break to report. It was 6-inch cast iron pipe in fairly good condition, but 51 years old. And to add to the reporting, customers were out of service or had low pressure for about 2 hours. So Jeff had asked for some additional information about how long breaks are taking to recover. So.
Well, that was great response time. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then we have one more kind of operations and maintenance item that's not on the report. In December, during the windstorm on the 15th, there was some damage to a communication tower at the North Red tanks. Telos has radio equipment on that tower and noticed some problems, and they sent out their contractor, which is DTN, I believe, to inspect the tower, and they informed us of the damage to the tower. And then they promptly arranged to provide equipment to stabilize the tower until it can be assessed. And so they have equipment out there, and that's about, where did I have it? Not quite $1,500 a week for that equipment. So the tower is stabilized now. There was no further damage on New Year's Eve. The insurance claim was filed officially on the 23rd once we got the proper forms sorted out, and we're working with Telos and DTN to assess what's required to replace the tower and find a better location for it. So we're meeting with them tomorrow in the office to see what that's about. And they're going to require soil samples to assess what kind of footings will be needed for the new installation.
So I saw there's a forklift holding the tower up. Is that what the $1,500 expense is to rent the forklift? Okay.
Yep, rental the forklift. Yeah, and then there's about $350 for Mob to drop that off and pick it up again when we're done. So that's a weekly rental.
So that's just a typical Met Tower type deal?
I don't know the details on the type of tower. That's what our meeting is with DTN tomorrow. Telos uses them pretty extensively for their tower installations.
Okay.
And so we'll talk to them. Austin said he's been very informative and professional, but he's had most of those conversations to this point. So I'll be engaged with that tomorrow at a meeting.
Okay. Hey, Kristen, I did see it looked like Lakewood and they had like a crew over there on Mississippi near Union again. Is something getting ready to get opened up over in that area? Is there anything we're involved with that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Mississippi and Union.
Yeah, I just saw City of Lakewood and some other contractors starting to gather again, and it kind of looks like something's getting ready to happen there. So I don't know what it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sam, do you maybe have any idea of anything on our side, or?
I can't think of anything. I think there was some paving issues over in that area that Lakewood was going to deal with, but that's the only thing that's coming to mind right at
Do you mean
Mississippi and Union.
just today, Jeff, or in like recent days or recent weeks?
It was today, and you know, you could be right. It could, maybe they're coming back in to put the special Lakewood asphalt down, or if there is any available. But yeah, there was City of Lakewood construction pickup there, and there was like 4 other looked like contractors standing around. I always get nervous over in that area anymore. So
we do get a lot of locate stuff that I think is maybe for fiber. I see a lot of those come in, but those have been coming in for years, and I haven't actually seen a project go through. That was close. Sam, wasn't that close to the? Is that right where the gas main was?
yes,
There's a big gas main that runs down there. Yeah, I haven't seen anything locate wise come through recently. My guess would be it's about the paving, but
okay.
I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that.
There
Maybe
is a stoplight installation that's going in at Florida and Union. And so in that corridor, they're doing a lot of work bringing new power in there for that light.
Oh wow, they're going to do a stoplight there finally.
Yep, they've been building it for you drive by there on the north side of Florida is a huge, about 3x3 concrete pillar where they're going to put the post for the stoplight.
I almost got hit by a car as a teenager skateboarding over there, so that'll be nice. If there's a stoplight there finally. So
That's about time.
yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought it was going to be municipal broadband for a second, but never mind.
Well, there's that too. My concern is they've had all that heavy equipment from those trees down to the new light. And then the fiber going in there. I'm just hoping they don't mess our water mains up over there. So, all right, we'll just keep our fingers crossed. All right, Kristen, anything else under maintenance report?
No, that was all.
Thank you very much. We'll close out. Does anyone have any questions for Kristen under the maintenance report?
No.
I don't know if it's maintenance report or engineering matters, but I do believe we there was some discussion a meeting or two ago of a to-do item list for the capital improvements. I don't know if
That's under engineering matters, subset A.
okay, thank you.
I think Terry will have an update. Oh, so I did hear back from Austin. There was a fire line issue at Jose O'Shea's that may have been in the area you saw all of that work. So it was not our issue.
That would have been at 4th and Union.
Yeah.
Not at Mississippi. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to open up agenda item number 7, engineering matters. Terry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jeff. Can you hear me all right?
I can. Thank you.
Good. So I don't know what happened last month. It's much better this time. Capital improvements project. American West, the low bidder, did get back with a revised cost summary. They deleted the water, which, as we discussed last month, was very high, extremely high costs. They added those additional sewer lines that, there had been confusion over whether they had been lined previously or not. And we just received those costs today. They seem to be reasonable. I want to check them a little more closely just because we just received them. The main addition, other than eliminating the water, it was the 21-inch and 27-inch sewers that it turns out were not lined. They provided costs. They appear maybe a little bit high, but again, in this bidding climate, they may not be too bad. I want to take the time to do a little bit more homework on the cost. Just do a little homework that I didn't have time to do after this came in, to see if they're in a reasonable range based on the marketplace right now. I want to confirm I have a call into the golf course, Jeff Bradley, regarding the timing, because of course the hope was, they would be starting about now, and going through this process and negotiation has delayed it somewhat, to see if there's any schedule or timing issue for work around a couple of the fairways on the golf course, and then confirm they did provide references and some more experience that we requested. So we'd like to go through those. It shouldn't take a day or two to get through those, address those issues. And if everything seems to be in order, we'd like to recommend proceeding with the project as we discussed last month.
Okay, can you put those updates in your engineering folder on the OneDrive, and we'll keep a look on all this. We'll probably have to approve it in the February meeting, Terry.
Okay, yes, sir. I will upload those, and any of the subsequent information we find, we will as well, so that the board is fully aware of, their experience, their references, and if there are any concerns with the golf course. We'll take care of that. We did receive, if there are no more questions on item A, I'll proceed to B, the red zone tank. Mattergenics did get us their draft report. I'd like to check with Dylan. Should we discuss that now, or should we go through? We discussed reviewing it, seeing if we have any comments that we'd like to feed back to Mattergenics before it's fully published. And Dylan, if it's fine to discuss very high level summary at this stage, that's fine, but I would defer to you on that.
Yeah, I think that would be fine, and I think that that would be helpful as well at this point in the board meeting. I did review that, not especially closely, but I didn't see anything in there that gave me any pause as far as the board and you discussing that tonight.
Very good, thank you. And I did the same. I went through it quickly, but I need to go through it in much more detail. I did have some conversations with some colleagues who are experts in concrete materials to discuss some of the findings, and I'll continue that dialogue. But the bottom line in their summary is their opinion is that the delamination adhesive failure between the epoxy primer and the polyurethane top coat was caused by a thicker than specified top coat thickness, and there was moisture in the concrete that was being transmitted through holidays in the primer coat. And their opinion is it was an application problem. That's the major gist. They did extensive laboratory analysis on the cross-linking, the two-part polyurethane, that it was properly mixed and there weren't any flaws there. But they think the culprit is the primer. There are some pinholes or holidays which they think may have transmitted some vapor pressure. We want to discuss that in much greater detail with them because I have some questions on that from a technical standpoint to make sure we're both on the same page. And again, this was identified, the top coat, the polyurethane, we were aware of this during the process. Holiday testing was done on that, and there were holidays in that coating. They came back and they troweled an additional layer to take care of the holiday issue. And they were aware of the thickness concern and tried to, I know they were trying to stay below that, but some of the samples they measured exceeded the maximum thickness of 100 mils. So, their opinion is that contributed to the failure. There's still a lot of questions and conversations for us to have with them, and I'm glad Dylan started looking through this. We'd like to have some dialogue internally and then discuss it with Mattergenics prior to final publication.
Can you tell me any more about what kind of questions are you looking at finding answers to here?
Well, for example, they're indicating all concrete has moisture within it. That's a given. So that shouldn't be necessarily a surprise. However, my question is going to relate to, and this is one of many as we go through, or maybe one of many, Karen, as we go through the detail in the report. But my question is, if you have a full tank with static pressure on the inside, is the vapor pressure from moisture within inherent in the concrete, could that overcome that static pressure internally? The primary failure we first saw was more in the lower half of the tank or lower down in the tank. And that's not, in at least a very preliminary opinion and question on our part is, that'd be the highest pressure from the static water level, and certainly could potentially overcome any vapor pressure from the concrete trying to get through the epoxy layer. So we'd like to dig into that deeper with them and possibly some other details just to make sure we're fully understanding from a technical standpoint all aspects.
Was the surface prepared correctly?
Alex, as far as we know, yes, the surface was clean. The old coating was entirely removed, other than very small areas where continuing to remove it would have eaten into the concrete more. But we had Andy Vorick, the coatings inspector, who was contract inspector for the district, inspecting the surface preparation. His opinion was the surface prep was good. And we are not seeing, from what we've seen so far, Alex, is the epoxy primer does not seem to be delaminating from the concrete. That adhesion, at least at this level of investigation, seems to be sound. It's the adhesion between the primer and the polyurethane.
I guess in general terms, I'd be curious as to why. I think the previous coating lasted, what, about
7 years?
7 years?
Roughly, I think staff said close to 7 years. They may have noticed it a year prior, some delamination.
Okay. What's the normal design lifespan on these coatings?
Well, we did a lot of homework with this go around on different coating systems and talking to manufacturers, and most of them will say that a 20-year life is reasonable.
Okay.
It's interesting, when we were on site, Andy Vorick, the specialty inspector, his dad did the same type of work prior to retiring, and he worked for Sherwin-Williams for a while. And we were shocked on site, Austin and Josh and some of the staff and I, talking to him. He said, oh, 5 to 7 years is pretty good for that type of coating, which bothered me quite a bit, because it seems like here's a guy who's done work on both sides of the fence, if you will, or both sides of the table. And he's making a claim which to me screams they misrepresent the effective life of their product, or potentially do. I think that's a good question.
I have a history question here because I'm the new guy. Maybe Todd has the same question, I don't know. Who was the contractor that did the application, and how was that contractor selected or recommended?
It was through a public bidding process, which of course is required. And they were the low bidder, but it's Cablaco Services. Our experience and everyone we talk to is they are regarded as one of the better coatings contractors. They are considered to be, a top drawer contractor. So sometimes the low bid process is not the best process. It's something we sometimes have to live with. We look at it very carefully, but we felt very good that Cablaco, a contractor of that caliber, was the low bidder.
What's their opinion of the failure?
Well, they think moisture coming through the wall causing the problem. So
they're going to assert that invalidates the warranty?
Well, certainly they will, or they may. Certainly they may, and that's where we want to review this information very carefully and make sure we have all our ducks in a row from a technical standpoint, because Mattergenics, is saying, and again, that concrete, they're saying they think application and bonding failure was the issue. And as Alex asked, which again, a good question, the other one bonded and lasted for maybe not the life you would like, but for almost 7 years. Why did this fail in the first year? So there are a lot of questions that we want to dig into. The concrete expert I talked to with CTL Thompson, he made the claim, and as we understand, that concrete always has moisture in it. There's always water content in the concrete. The contractor, Cablaco, they thought of it from the standpoint, well, we have water outside the tank and it's coming through. That site is pretty dry. There is a vault adjacent to the two tanks, in between the two water tanks, that is as deep as the tanks, has a gravel bottom, and there's no evidence of water in that. Or if there is, you know, you can see it's wetted in the last 6 inches or foot. So there is not standing groundwater outside the tank envelope.
Well,
So
it's
they're
a
gonna have
top
to argue
bill.
there was a significant unusual moisture event that happened just before their application.
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Well, I'm trying to think back, was there a pretty heavy rain during a period of their application? But even then, we were checking the vault adjacent to the tank, and it was showing, you know, no standing water.
Well, it gives us something to talk about in executive session.
Yes, yes, I think that would be good as we especially dig into some of the details a little deeper. And we do a lot of concrete work, but I am not a structural engineer, so I defer to some of that expertise. But the initial opinion of our structural colleague was similar to mine. He did not think that the vapor pressure would overcome the static pressure of a tank full of water. He did say that osmotic pressure can, but he said in concrete this old, he would not expect there to be any salts or osmotic pressure to any level that would affect it.
Thank you.
From my reading of the report, I think both of those questions were answered in the report. They did do some tests, so we'll probably find some more condition of the concrete, whatnot, and the dryness. There's a couple things to be concerned about going on. What is my impression of the report is all sorts of bad things were going on here, but what is the next step? It sounds like you're saying that I thought we were waiting for this to find out whether or not we could proceed with warranty or not. You're saying this is a first step, and then we are going to do more investigations after here. How long is this process going to take?
What I'm saying, Karen, is that we wanted, as we discussed the last couple of meetings, we'd like to go through, and if there's any language that we would like to discuss with Mattergenics, for example, this question, if there's some disagreement professionally, to vet those with them carefully. So when it is published, hopefully within a few weeks or so, we can resolve those.
Okay.
I'd like to make sure that Dylan is included in those conversations since it has implications.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's our wish and our intent as well, because very often, as we all know quite well, phrasing, syntax, punctuation here or there can really change the tenor and how something is interpreted. So I think Dylan's careful review together with technical input, I think would be very important.
I guess is the concern that, I mean, sounds to me like Mattergenics actually in some ways did their job. So is there a question of whether or not the language used will potentially jeopardize district's position or something else?
No, my intent in reviewing this and with Dylan as well would be, can we reinforce the district's position?
Okay.
Can we enhance the district's position? For example, through a dialogue regarding the vapor pressure versus a tank full of, 18 feet of water. We can make some of those claims stronger. That's how I would like to see it.
So am I to assume we're going into executive session tonight over this? Did I hear that? Did anyone mention that? Or am I just,
That was mentioned. I did not
Are you-
anticipate that we would need to.
I don't know that we're ready for that tonight. I think we want to have some meeting with Dylan and concrete experts.
I wasn't suggesting tonight, I was suggesting at some point it will be important.
Yes, I think so. And,
Yes.
and if we get through this and have some strong opinions, defer to the board, of course, but if a special board meeting was appropriate and the board concurred, we'd make ourselves available for that.
so I
Generally-
guess with all this being said, I guess I want to make a motion to have a subcommittee to authorize a director selection of like a third-party SME to look at a different opinion on what's going on here.
Second,
Okay, do we have any further discussion?
I would suggest Karen be your cohort in that operation. If she agrees.
Noted. Okay,
I'll agree only because I know you've been busy and working all through the holidays, but yep. If Director
Would you
Baker is,
modify your motion to include Karen? And yourself?
I will. Okay, I will withdraw the first motion. I will make a new motion for a subcommittee to authorize a selection of a third-party SME to offer opinions on the red tank issues, to include directors Morgan and Baker as the subcommittee of the district.
Second,
Okay, I have a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, call the vote. All in favor of this, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, we have a 5 ayes, 0 nays. We formed a subcommittee to authorize a selection of a third-party SME on the red tank issues.
can I ask one further question? It sounds like then that you are talking about getting other expert opinions, concrete experts you said specifically. Is that something how will that selection process be going, and will we be seeing formal reports from them as well?
Are you talking to me, Director Morgan?
I guess I'm asking Mr. Kenyon. You said you were going to look at other concrete expert opinions?
Well, this is just colleagues I've worked with for many, many years.
I see. Okay.
And they weren't charging me.
Okay.
We
Yeah, I think
exchanged information and dialogue. We can take it to that next step. And to your question, Karen, we could recommend some that we think are, very high level, high quality in the field.
Okay.
If
Is that
the board would
necessary?
like that.
Is it necessary to select anyone, or Terry, are you comfortable with these collegial conversations that you had that we could call a meeting of you, me, Dylan, Karen, and Jeff as needed to explore these questions with them? Are they willing to have another conversation?
I'm comfortable with that. They CTL Thompson is, highly respected, very
Agreed.
good firm, and I would feel comfortable just utilizing them. I wasn't sure what the board's wishes were there, if they were thinking to go out and select somebody. I'm comfortable working with CTL Thompson, and they would be the first to tell us, hey, we should bring so-and-so in, who for this subject matter has special expertise. They'd be the first to tell us if they.
I have a question for Dylan, please. Dylan, collegial conversations, in my understanding, are ripe for discovery. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, certainly in this context.
Yeah, so I would be very careful about having collegial conversations without the understanding of the parties that they might find themselves in eventual litigation just by offering an opinion. Which is why I think it's very important to have a contracted SME to protect everybody.
And that's what the motion is.
Yep, I agree. And I did have a conversation with Dylan, not specifically on that matter, but on should this whole process be attorney-client privilege? And he said this would be just discoverable under any event. So only proceeded after a conversation with him.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can we call the question? Or did we vote already?
We voted.
Okay, never mind. I lost track.
Okay.
Terry or Kristen, I have looked on the OneDrive. If one of you has it, could you send me the tank lining contract and warranty information so I can have that when I review the report more fully?
Yep,
Yes.
those would be, so in the board folder, there's a folder for contracted services.
Okay.
I can send you the pathway, but it's there, and I think I put the Mattergenics report in both places actually. So if you were looking from one location, but I can send you that path.
Oh, I found it. Thank you.
Okay.
Before we move on, one final question about the warranty we talked about, and I just want, it is official that this was put on notice. This problem was found while it was in warranty. So even though we are working through it, we are all okay. Everybody agrees with that. All legal opinions and manager, everybody agrees. Yep. Nothing else?
We did go into the tank within the 1-year warranty to discover the failure. Yes.
So we're not under any deadlines on this. Okay, thank you.
Well, except that we need to have the tank
Have it online.
come March.
Sure. Cross our fingers.
So we have a risk issue. So Kristen, is there some due diligence from the district that we have to notify with our risk and resiliency? Do we have to make note of this to any regulatory agency?
Not that I know of at this time. You mean in terms of anticipating issues with delivering water?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll talk with Austin
Okay.
and Josh
Yeah.
about that.
I just want to make a note of that, make sure with the new risk and resiliency formats that they're putting out through the districts. I know there's compliance issues, and what does that look like? Do we have to make some notification or whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So what will be the next step then in terms of a third party
I'll
review
that
and
with
conversations?
I will review that with Director Morgan, and we'll let you know very, very shortly what we're thinking on that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, Terry, I think we're good on the red zone. If you want to move on to item C.
West Exposition, we have had conversations with Denver Water. They are hoping to approve the plans within a week or so. We'll see. The changes that were made, these weren't disclosed to us at the last meeting, as you recall. So we held off on recommending approval till we had a chance to address it. The changes were to the storm sewer and not impacting the water and sewer design. So we're okay to proceed. I did check. So we recommend approval, but as I said in my report, we would not release the drawings, even if they're approved and signed, until we have Denver Waters in hand and staff is ready. And I've informed the developer and contractor of that.
So is all that work going on in that area, is that to accommodate the exposition and the other development going on in that area? I noticed there's a lot. It looks like Denver Water, I don't know, somebody's doing a lot of work over there.
They have a general contractor and for the pipeline work, they have JBS Construction, who has been talking to us as well. So I assume they're doing site work and all of that in preparation. They were, of course, hoping they'd be beginning construction 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Till they found out they didn't have plans ready. So we would, again, we don't see any concern. These were previously reviewed, vetted and approved by the board. So it'd just be getting the new cover drawing signed, which I noticed they did not put the signature block. So I'm going to bug the engineer, get that over to us so it can be signed.
Okay.
If the board approves.
Okay. Kristen, do we need to post any notification to our customers out there that there is an awful lot of work going on in those neighborhoods, probably causing some inconvenience? Is there any, do we need to post a notification to the district for that area?
I don't know if we normally do that.
Okay.
I can check. I think we handle inquiries as they come in to see what that is, but
Okay.
if it's not our work per se, you know, it's someone else constructing other facilities. I don't know that we normally would.
Yeah, I think it's water. I think it's water and sewer. So that's why I was asking. Look like they're upsizing the area. So anyway, just curious.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can check. So I don't know, back to process, if whose signature goes on those drawings, Terry?
Usually it's the president of the board.
Okay.
And I typically sign off, you know, that they've been reviewed.
Okay. So do we want something in place so that if Denver Water comes in with their approval, that I can contact Jeff to come and sign? What motion or something should be done here to do that,
Well,
like in the intervening month?
Yeah, we can't approve until Terry's telling us basically they're not ready to go. So it'll probably have to be next month, and they'll review stuff and then we'll have to approve it and I'll have to sign it.
Well, I would ask, and of course I would defer to the board, but we've gone through them, and what we've often done is, since district staff and we have gone through them previously and now sign them, but we won't release them until Denver, so they don't lose a whole month. But again, that's up to the board.
Or even that they're approved by the district. They could be approved at this meeting by the district, but they're not signed until Denver Water. But we could do that signature before February. But we can defer either way. Karen?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask if when was the last time you did go through these? They were plan had expired a little while ago. Have you reviewed them since the wastewater master plans were all done? It looks like there were some area of concerns. I'm not sure exactly which pipe it goes through, but I mean, that exposition, I'm guessing it's gonna go downhill someplace, and all of that area has got some areas of concern. Am I not? Have you looked at that since the latest master plans for the implications there?
Yes, and staff went out and monitored those manholes a few times. It's a stretch of sewer in Kipling, and it's pretty deep. And as usual, or what we often find is, we want to be conservative in the numbers when we're master planning, and they're finding flows that are lower than, you know, as you might expect. We try to base that on the most conservative numbers, but they did go out, pop manholes and look at those a while back, and we're not seeing, you know, significant issues in the flow levels. Okay.
My reading just off the map, if it's going down, maybe I'm looking at Union, because these are highlighted in, we've got some red stretches along there, South Kipling Street, it's delineated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an area of concern, but not for this, not really.
Well, what we concluded when we reviewed it the first time was the impact of 29 homes was pretty minor based on the total flow that goes through the Kipling line. So it's very, very small amount. And again, based on them checking the manholes, they felt comfortable checking the flows.
Okay. So maybe tell me where then I'm not understanding then what the difference is between they check the manholes and everything looks good compared to it's identified as an area of under capacity on the master plan.
Well, the master plan does look at ultimate build out flows. And so when you see that, highlighting, it depends on ultimate development. And so whatever future development may take place. And to your point, this area is mostly built out, but there's infill. We analyzed it with ADU, with significant amount of ADU units that was very conservative. And, almost an ADU every other lot, that permitted lot per Lakewood. So there's conservative numbers in there.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said that those are available. They are available for our review now. They are drawn up. The diagrams. I haven't been in the office to see any for a little while. Are they there? Diagrams?
We have the drawings. They were submitted first to Kristen, I believe. Isn't that correct, Kristen?
Yeah, I have the drawings. I probably haven't updated those to the board folder for that project, but I can do that.
And as I noted, Karen, I looked back at them after conversations with the contractor, communication with the engineer, and realized that they didn't put the signature block on the cover drawing. But that's
Minor.
Pretty minor. They can do that and submit an electronic copy for.
And you said the changes were to stormwater, so the water and sewer plans on the plans that would be in the folder now, and the pages for water and sewer would be the same.
Yes.
Information.
Yes.
So, but I can put the new set there as well.
Yep. And their engineer of record, because this is a new engineer for the developer, did the storm. The old engineer updated their stamp and dated it. So his stamp is current.
Well, since our staff has essentially approved the drawings, the engineering drawings, is there a reason we can't, by motion, authorize Jeff to sign when we receive Denver Water's confirmation and drawings?
That would be fine from my perspective.
Jeff, is that okay with you?
Yeah, as long as we're following the protocols and processes.
Have you all had a chance to look at that area in reference to the master plan?
I have not. I need to look. I want to look at that.
I have, and I've been on site.
I guess that's my only concern, as I had not either had I wanted Terry's input about, which makes sense. I don't know if would be able to get any better answers. What else can I look at to make that decision on how much? I mean, there's a lot of red on this master plan in that area. So that is a concern for me, that we are going to, but if it's already an area of concern to be doing.
Well, it's an area of concern
at
full build out with very conservative or I guess aggressive infill, like so very high side cases of infill and ADUs. And when you look at that high side case, there is red. But how far are we from that high side case in terms of, you know, if there was a percent from current to that level of build out, 29 homes is what?
Yeah, and what's,
I mean, short of running the model with that specific case, which is a very detailed level of data manipulation.
yeah. Remind me again, what's the change then in the home level? What was it before?
I don't know what the total service area is, but this is 29 additional homes, so it's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
And from a flow standpoint, you know, we might be talking in the scheme of that, you know, 10 gallons per minute, or, you know, very insignificant in the scheme of the total service area.
I guess at which point do we get to make a determination that we've hit the inflection point of where we've gone from green to yellow to red? And when do we get to call and essentially, you know, assess flow, environmental and financial impacts, you know, on the system and our constituents? Because to me, it sure seems like some of these things are becoming a death by 1,000 cuts. You know, it's understood that on its own, 29 units is not concerning, but 29 times, you know, say 50, 100, 200 more projects. At which point do we have information to act upon to make that call? I guess is what I would want to know.
And if I could step in again, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at the presentation that you did, the slides, and I mean, the title of the slide is the existing capacity that is red down the line, red, orange, yellow. So that's not future planning and peak, that is today.
Let me double check that.
If I'm looking at the right road is my only question, because those aren't labeled. and I could get lost very easily. But it is on the legend as South Kipling Street is in existing capacity is over.
And I need to double check that and confirm that. What we did, Alex, to your question, recommend for all of these sewers was initiating a flow monitoring program, which would identify what are they really seeing over time versus, you know, when you do a master plan, you're doing whole basins. And we have pretty good information because Metro Wastewater has monitoring stations. So we have good data, but subbasins could have much lower flows. It can vary, you know, a reasonable amount. So any of those areas, we recommended a monitoring program be implemented. So as additional development occurs, they can, you know, we can assess what that impact is, where it stands in real time. And as new developments occur, we can see what the impact is and establish a trigger point that says no more development in these areas.
So what would the potential timeline on, you know, installing such a system, or, you know, would this be area by area, or, you know, this is kind of almost, I mean, it makes sense in some levels, but it's sort of news to me, at least, so that we, you know, could do such a thing.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that you try to pick the peak periods in the you know, the wet weather periods. So that'd be something that comes up in a few months, and there are firms out there who do just that. They'll install meters, measure the flow, record the data, You know, they can record peak flows. And you usually do it for a time period. So with the hope of catching peak areas that can vary. Sometimes sometimes you might see those in June, July, later than you might think when it's starting to get dry, but because of the groundwater effect, it can vary year to year, but that's a program you like to implement and undertake. There are some municipalities will purchase the meters themselves so that they can have an ongoing program and move them around to key areas, sensitive areas.
That's what I was wondering. Are these not installed? You know, can these not be installed, or it's cost prohibitive to where they're just in the system and just kind of measuring all the time?
If you purchase the equipment, you could. You know, you select manholes with the optimum hydraulic characteristics, so your readings are the most accurate. And the meters available now are pretty sophisticated, the technology has improved dramatically over, you know, what it was 20 years ago. So you could do that and install them and keep them in.
Okay.
And that's not a bad approach for some of the key reaches of sewer that might be most critical.
So this is something, I mean, that I think, I don't know what the board thinks, because to me, again, we keep hearing onesie twosie here, and then, you know, there's some other winds blowing that are, well, in a little sense recently, is unfortunately as well, but that are, I think, will be causing impacts to the system that are possibly even unforeseen. And I cannot, you know, simply say, yeah, let's just keep doing what we're doing. That's just not gonna work going forward. So I don't know what the rest of the board thinks on such things, but do we need to start thinking about, yeah, purchasing these or kind of setting up? We need better information. I mean, to me, and to Director Morgan's point, we can't just keep guessing anymore, I guess, and keep wondering what any given project is going to do to the system.
Well, could we get a cost on those for future? On this project, I'm afraid somebody else is welcome to make the motion. I will not be able to vote for it until I want to look at those plans and make sure that I'm getting my streets right with this plan, put it together with our review. We did go through the trouble. Merrick did a great job on all this reviews and presentations for us for all of this. So if there is already an existing capacity concern, I want to make sure in terms of that we're not just approving the old plans with our old thought process. So so maybe next month I would be ready after reviewing the plans in terms of that. And if there is another opinion, Terry, if you could bring that, and after you look at that and compare to, tell me where I'm going wrong, and that would be appreciated, and go from there.
And I can get information. Ted Miller Associates is one of the firms who does a lot of flow monitoring. They have the equipment they will install and do the work contract basis, or they sell the equipment. And Gary Drilliman with them is very well known in the industry. He's been doing flow monitoring for decades. He's an engineer. Not that that matters. You don't have to be an engineer to be to be competent, but that's his background. He worked for the state health department before he went into private practice. He's highly respected and has done a lot of this work and knows the equipment, the hydraulics very well. And again, so happy to reach out to them and get some information for you on that.
Thank you.
All right.
We did use those at Lockheed because we had to monitor our outflows, and you know, you have to, it becomes a PM issue with the staff. You have to calibrate those things, and
yep.
You know, you have to make sure you have the ability with whatever wireless technology. That stuff's hopefully it's come a little bit further. Don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of issues with that. It's not, they have it, you can do it, but what's the reliability of the equipment? I'd have to see what they're doing here lately.
Well, there is a cost benefit analysis of just setting up, you know, a monitoring maybe program where they come by, say, twice a year or something, and just take measurements at these, you know, potential high and low, whatever flow times. Because another concern that I never got answered, I guess, it's a good engineering practice to have a safety factor built into whatever you're working on. And I still cannot honestly, you know, tell our constituents what is the safety factor of our system, say, in the event of a very unlikely, you know, event such as the one that just happened not too far away. So when we need all the pressure, when we need all the flow, will we be able to provide it? That would be my question, and I still don't have a good answer for that.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing. I'm not someone who's disposed to being kind to developers in most days. But having listened carefully to this discussion, if I were the developer of this project, I would say, what the heck happened? In good faith, I thought everybody was moving down the right road, and this roadblock seems to be a little disconcerting for them, I would suspect. We just should keep that in mind.
That is a very fair statement. We should have looked at this before, and yes.
And just to clarify, my comments are general in nature, not directed at this project. I do agree with that assessment that this particular, you know, group and this particular project has been around for quite some time. So I'm just saying, on my time on the board, I just haven't gotten a good answer to that question that I posed. So thank you.
Feel free to make the motion. Like I said,
Well, my thought about a motion was just to generate discussion, and I have no intent to move forward with it, because if we don't have consensus, there's no point in doing that. They'll just have to wait another month. I'm really sorry about that, and there's certainly an interest implication for them financially. Apologize. We're just not quite there yet.
Well, Dave, I think we could move forward, and I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. It does sound like there's been some administrative malfunctions on their part that wasn't our problem. You know, they've had some gyrations on their side of the court that, yeah, we keep talking about it, and, you know, they need to clean up some items over there. So I would be aligned with this 100%, except I haven't seen the due diligence across the board. So
maybe we'll have it in February.
Okay. All right, Terry, let's keep rolling.
Okay. Construction project status. When I wrote the report, thought there were no changes. We did find Sam has uploaded some as-built to the GIS system. So a couple of the projects now have as-built, and the district's GIS system reflects those. The Alameda Water and Sand District, as you see in your report, we did a count of the existing customers. There are 260, approximately 260 EQR currently being served, and based on liquid land use for the various parcels, we are in the range of 454 additional future customers could be served in that area potentially. And when I wrote this, we just got word that Colorado Christian University, I believe, they may add something on their parcel, so that 454 might go up a little bit. All right, the ravine sewer crossing. We actually walked the site some today. We put some stakes so Sam can go GPS and we can get a higher level of detail for preliminary design concept for an alternative routing to cross the gulch. So we're prepared to take that to the next step, a higher level, get more detailed costing for the structure that would have to cross the ravine to carry the sewer, for the alternate location, and have that ready for the February meeting. We also did receive 2 quotes from surveyors to survey that existing sewer alignment. One was Flatiron Surveying, who's done some previous work for the district, and King Surveyors, who also did a recent small easement, fire hydrant easement description for the district. Their costs were both very close. Flatirons was $3,000 and King Surveyor was $2,852. That'd be for doing a center line easement of the existing sewers. So
just a small, King's Surveyors with the easement description is 33, and Flatirons didn't break out the price. So I'm not sure what their breakout price was for the easement description, but their total price was 3,000. So 3,000 and 33.52. But the easement description would be deferred until we need that work.
Yes. Do you know if they clearly included the full legal description in their work, Kristen, in Flatirons?
I think so. That was in the scope
Okay.
of work. I think they just didn't break out the pricing, and I didn't get to reply back to them in the cycle of receiving it today to double check that. But once we figure out how that breakout is, or if it's the full legal description is included, we would just pick the lower price.
Mm-hmm. They're both good firms, good surveyors, and we've worked with both. The district has worked with both of them, so I think, yeah, let
And I
price
think
dictate.
both had availability to complete the survey part, in the next 3 weeks or something like that. So
Can we open the scope on that to have them survey where we're thinking about if we had to run the sewer line as an alternate to repairing or rebuilding the ravine bridge? If we were to remove the ravine bridge, I don't want to call it a bridge anymore, the ravine pipe hanger, if we were to put it in the ground, could we get that area surveyed also, Kristen? And could we authorize moving forward on that? If we need to start taking a look at bids down the road for all this work?
Austin and Sam walked that with, Austin walked it with Terry, and then I think Sam and Austin are going to walk it tomorrow and use our equipment to get kind of just the level data that we need to, that Terry needs to move forward with a preliminary, scoping and design. Terry can speak more to that.
The concern is if the board moved ahead and authorized realigning the sewer, and which would include, once installed, demoing the existing bridge and sewer. What very frequently happens is you tweak things a little bit in final design, because we would get soils holes, test holes done at that time for the structure, for the bridge abutments, and that sort of thing. And sometimes in that final design process, you find things move a little bit. So if they were to do any work at this level, we would want them to just establish enough control so they could create the easement when final design was done. And I think they might be able to do that. We could ask them that question, because if they created a little bit of control, then they can do the final easement, in their office. They don't have to go back out into the field. So,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we had a good legal description on the plot plan if we put it out to bid.
Yep, absolutely. And Lakewood, we'd have to go to Lakewood to acquire the easement. So we'd have to go through that whole process.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
But we don't need that level of survey detail now for the pricing that you're doing.
Correct. No. We would just need that before plans would even be approved by City of Lakewood and ready to publish. Lakewood would want to, because they're going to grant the easement. And so we'd have to obtain it from them. So that would take place, Jeff, long before the plans were even on the street for bids.
Okay.
Yep.
So Director Baker, does that, I mean, to me, that sounds like either two motions, or we just do the motions for existing easement and then move on with the other one when there's more info, or?
I don't think it requires a motion. They're going to go ahead and survey it. They'll have enough to continue to move forward at this point. My understanding is there's no reason to put a motion in place to add the survey, additional surveying. Mike, is that correct? Kristen, Terry?
That's correct.
my
We
understanding.
have direction already to get the survey that we've just discussed the pricing for. And
Correct.
we're getting the level of detail that we need from our own equipment for the next phase of evaluating the option to move the line.
I would suspect that if we ask them to come out later to do this, they got to put us into their schedule. They got to come out, bring new equipment back in and do it all again. That's going to be higher cost than if we include it right now.
We don't know necessarily where. I think you want to scope the price and decide if you want to consider moving the line, or at some point make that decision and work with one space or the other.
How about we do this? We ask them, can they establish control? So the legal description, if we do realign the sewer, that they could do it, that they would have everything they need to do it in the office and save a field trip and keep the costs to a minimum.
That would be great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
With that being said, Dylan, we talked about the signage for these, and I'm going to quit using the word bridge. These are pipe hangers.
Good.
Do we need to, and I had talked with you about this offline, do we need to have Kristen send off a letter to Lakewood requesting that they put up signage from City of Lakewood, since it's their park, stating that these are no longer, or these were never intended to be pedestrian bridges, these are pipe hangers, and that we need to be shutting them down because they're not pedestrian bridges.
I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask Lakewood to do that, or to inform them that we are going to be doing that ourselves. I think either of those is fine. I think there is a reasonable likelihood that if we ask Lakewood, they will tell us, no, go ahead and do it yourselves.
So I guess I would like to, do I need to motion this, Dylan?
I don't think that that requires a motion. I think that you can just instruct staff to contact Lakewood City Attorney, or Kristen to contact someone there, or even just whatever path the board wants to pursue with either doing it ourselves or asking them to do it. Just provide that direction.
So I would like to request staff, if that's you or if it's Kristen, to request from Lakewood to add signage, since it's their park, and notify the public that these are not pedestrian bridges. And then there's there's concern, just because these have been around since I didn't have gray hair. I was actually pretty young and they were still around. They were here. There's going to probably be some blowback for the people in the area. Do we need to look at bringing on a PR firm? It's just to think about, or do we need to be thinking about that?
I think we need to think about it, but I'd be interested in hearing Lakewood's response to an outreach first.
Okay, I just want to put it out there.
I do think that we need to engage with Rich Oliver.
Maybe CC Rich over Kristen or Dylan. That's Ward 4, the new Ward 4 city councilor.
Okay.
Please.
If you're going to include, I would also include Barb Franks just so that they both.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to, which is all fine, it doesn't matter. Again, timing, start looking for, forget it, a PR firm and quotes and everything, but we'll look at that later. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I think we're good unless anyone else has something for Terry on Ravine Bridge.
No, but I'd just like to clarify, Director Baker, and you meant ask Lakewood to do it, but then they are authorized if Lakewood says no to do it themselves, and you're talking the 3 bridges that we own, not just the one.
Well, we got to quit calling them
Yes.
bridges, folks. They're pipe hangers.
Gotcha.
My understanding, to delineate this going forward, these are called pipe hangers. These are a trellis pipe hanger.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree that that's the distinction that's being drawn, but I'm still going forward with my old-fashioned understanding that this land was dedicated as a park to Lakewood to be using and crossing that bridge and pedestrian use. I think that was kind of a multi-use intent in the beginning. And so I don't have any qualms by saying it was intended as a bridge and they were supposed to be people using it. And now that is changing, not by choice.
Not by choice, not by Green Mountain's choice. Lakewood has kind of put us on an island here, which I don't like. So. Any further questions? Yeah, okay, Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. Did I miss the Alameda?
Yeah, you did.
I did. That was that little brief. So we did not get any update on that. I'm expecting somebody at some point to give us where's the understanding of where we are in the contract. I thought we were going to have that last month, as a matter of fact. So I wasn't too upset. And Terry's moving forward, but haven't we solidified our understanding of what the contracts say at this point?
I think that we have a pretty good understanding of what the contracts say, and I don't think that we necessarily have a good handle on what Alameda's perspective is on those contracts. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but my recollection is that the outstanding amount of contractual obligation taps is around 312, which is less than the 700 or so that Terry has calculated at full build out. But we don't know whether Alameda is open to changing their historic position that no additional taps, even up to the 312, will be permitted.
Okay. Well, that I would agree with I thought their interpretation is what I got out of reading it too, but you're thinking that we still have 700 taps available.
No,
we don't.
300.
We have 300. Okay.
Yes.
700 potential.
700 that we want. Okay.
That's the ask. That ask is 700 plus. Dylan said 312 or something like that is their cap. That's the ceiling.
Okay. Just to clarify, we don't want anything. We're just examining how many taps we may or may not have. Alameda says they would support up to 312. So my question is that include already existing customers out there, or is that on top of the 260 existing customers that were mentioned earlier?
I believe that's including the existing, I believe. Dylan, is that how you read it?
Yeah, that was my recollection. I wanted you to confirm that.
Okay, sorry, can you recap again? That was, we have 300 taps, but that includes existing customers, so we still don't know how many free taps are available for us to use, to ask for.
Sounds like 72 maybe.
From the original, or not original.
Oh, sorry,
but
I can't do math even today. My apologies. What did I just do? That's 52. Thank you.
What was, Dylan, what was 312? I thought that was the outstanding available.
That was the outstanding available as of the notice from Alameda in 1974 that no additional taps would be served. So I may be misunderstanding the 260 current served calculation.
At what date those came?
Yes.
Right.
Well, those should have been come on before the cutoff.
Well, and
Okay.
just so you guys know, because I've been here forever, I'm like a dinosaur. I don't think they've if they went from a 1974 position, that area has developed. There was a lot of infill in that. So I would even question what's left of Alameda's, whatever their cap is or capacity. Because they developed out that area quite a bit right around in that time frame.
Then if those 260 were constructed or brought into service prior to the institution of the freeze, then 312 is the outstanding contractual number for a potential total of 572.
So
Yeah,
260 plus 312. So potentially. Okay. So please
Okay.
clarify that
Yes.
and let us know as soon, well, by the next board meeting if possible.
Can you write this up and do the math and with the dates? Because there was something in the 80s too, that other update where it said, right, that they're done, and we put in money for some kind of capital improvement and we called it quits, and that, I mean, that was it. We called it quits there, and that was in the 80s. I thought we were done with taps, we were done with payment, we were done with infrastructure, we were done with it all. That was the end of it, and I thought that was in the 80s. So that 74 agreement, I thought it had another number later.
So
Right. So there was what they did in the 74, then there was the 80s, and then there's the last 20 years, which east of Garrison, they dumped a bunch more development on the east side of Garrison, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what, I guess, does this require a motion, Dylan?
No, I will just take your instruction and prepare a memorandum for the next board meeting, reflecting those calculations and numbers as discerned.
Thank you kindly, and we would like, to have a better understanding of what we are obliged and not obliged to do as the district.
Yes.
Thank you.
Given the action of the city council the other night, was it last night, I guess?
Yes, last night.
Yeah, we probably should keep in mind in drafting this memorandum that it would be useful for the Lakewood staff to be aware that we're not an impediment to expanding service, but Alameda has a cap. What I'm saying is, let the city beat up on Alameda, not us.
Well, that was to my point of what are we obliged and not obliged to do.
Right.
Thank you.
And Terry and Kristen, if I have any questions when I'm preparing that, I'll reach out to you.
Yeah. It sounds like I'd have to read it again too. We may need to look at relative dates of the development, as Jeff has alluded to.
Yeah, there were 3 phases, Terry. They built out more right in the 1974 timeframe, right in there. There was that development that was right in that area. And then there was another phase in the 80s. And then we had the large phase of growth after 2000 to where we are now east of Garrison. That's that development of housing east of Garrison. So I'm wondering how accurate any of this stuff is. So
yeah, so we may need to look at building permits through Lakewood and Jefferson County to
Yep.
parse the numbers. Mhm.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, does anyone
So-
have further questions for Terry?
Again, unless I missed this, I thought a board meeting or two ago, we talked about having a list of actual improvements and projects such as the Tamarisk, lift station to give us the top 5, or did I miss that, or was that ever presented, or not by you, Terry? I'm just saying in general terms, I remember that being discussed.
I asked for
ARP.
that at every meeting for months, or not every meeting. Maybe I asked Greg off meeting. I wanted it at every meeting since the master plan. And I know Terry said that was a doable project to do, to get more of a comprehensive plan of everything that was identified in those master plans and everything that kind of got deprioritized for this year, with descriptions and a priority and estimated budget, so that we could keep a comprehensive list and then maybe prioritize from there. But it looked like some of those plans that were projects that were identified in the master plan, some of those problems were just past board decisions that got knocked off the list at some point. And that all makes sense, but without having the comprehensive list of projects needed, future boards don't know to put it back on at some point either. I don't know, but it just never, I don't think it sits well with me to see that master plan, all of that work that you did, and find out that there were projects that we just, at some point they've got to become a priority.
Mhm. And I was working with staff to complete a spreadsheet, working with them and prioritizing them, assigning weight, and that is very close to complete. So that's something we can wrap up maybe over the next week or so. I actually, when we were out walking the ravine sewer, then we came back to the office to revisit those. And I think we have almost all of those in there, Karen. We went back through that, so.
Even if it's
Thank
relatively
you.
preliminary, can we have that maybe sent out, emailed or whatever before the next board meeting?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we should be able to have it done well before the next board meeting.
Thank you, Terry.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you. And to be clear, I don't need it on the agenda. I just would like to have it
Agreed.
someplace, and we can bring it up if we need to, but it's not a.
And we can upload it and let you all know when it is available. All right.
Okay, Terry.
Just a thought, Dylan, when we have that long list of projects available to us, can we do a study session?
Well, even a study session would need to be noticed as a special meeting if there are 3 directors discussing district business. So yes, but it would still need to be a meeting.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, is everyone good with closing out engineering matters?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Terry, again.
Okay. Thank you all.
Yep. Have a good week. Have a good month.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
You as well, and Happy New Year. Yes. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, Doug or Kristen, we're moving on to agenda item number 8, financial matters.
Director Baker,
Yeah.
may I ask for a potty break? 5 minutes?
Okay.
I mean,
I'm
I
go-
can just run off, but if the board would be interested, or
Let me,
anybody on the line.
Let me give everybody a 10-minute break. We'll resume at 7:50.
Thank you.
Okay, going offline for 10 minutes. Okay. Depending on which is right, I've got 7:51. Are we good?
Yes,
Everyone back?
yes.
Kristen, are you back? Or Doug?
I'm here. I'll cover the financials.
Okay, thank you. You have the
Sure.
floor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the expenditures reports?
No, I reviewed all of them and I'm actually all good with them.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the December 2021 and the January 2022 operating expenses and expenditures.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just want to make a comment that I hope doesn't offend anybody, but I think it needs to be said. At the last board meeting, we approved Karen's reimbursement. And I note that it appears that the check was just cut today. I would expect us to do a little better job, things like that.
Noted. Further discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Karen, I didn't hear you.
Yep, sorry, I didn't hit mute fast enough. Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes, so the budget is passed for December 2021, January 2022 daily, monthly operation expenses and capital expenditures. We can move on to item B.
Okay. Any questions about the financial reports?
Todd, do you need to brief the directors on anything you found?
No, I read through and the report is standard, as is the audit engagement letter is standard. And so those are more than acceptable to me. So I don't know if we need to make a motion to accept them as they are, or if it's just a noted item that's something that has happened or will happen.
Dylan, do we need a motion on these two items 8B and C?
Yes, please.
Do you want them done independently or can we roll them together?
Together is fine.
Okay. I'll make a motion to pass December 2021 unaudited financial and investment report and accept the item C audit engagement letter.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Do we have discussion? No discussion. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have 5 ayes, 0 nays. That passes. Both are rolled into one motion, and that has passed. And we're up on investment options 8D.
Okay. So Doug provided his summary of rates that he's found so far and recommendations regarding that based on the Fed raising interest rates by the end of the year and long-term investments having better rates by the end of the year, kind of deferring, things like 5-year CDs and so forth. So I don't know if there's any further discussion, if you guys want to talk about that.
Well, truly, I think that, depending on when the Fed acts and when some of the rate hikes are implemented, we still just need to optimize the earnings that we have, but it would be a huge plus. And I actually agree with Dave Wickman that, given if we have the opportunity to get into some safe, I don't know all of the rules as far as the safety of like treasury bills or other items. But if we could opt into some short-term bills with significantly higher rates of return, that would be awesome, since, I mean, the district really has a lot of money that is available for investment. I know there's formulas that limit and cap that, but it sure would be great to get as much, for lack of a better term, I mean, investment income and free money for us, whether it be for capital improvements, whether it be to offset, you know, cost our constituents. I think that'd be awesome, but we need to kind of see what the Fed's going to do and when they make those moves. And so it's kind of, unfortunately, a wait and see at this point on those.
The next Fed meeting is January 25th and 26th, so we should have an indication fairly soon.
I hope so. So like by February, maybe we can have some choices.
So Dylan or Kristen, what's the to what Director Hooks stated and what Dave Wickman had mentioned in public comment? Are we authorized, can we in fact invest some of the district money legally to go off and try and optimize the district's funds through these T-bills or bonds?
I don't know specifically, but I believe that those are qualified investment vehicles. Yes.
So with that being said, would it be okay, or do we need to make, is this something we need to motion for Doug to do, or can we just tell Kristen, please, or can you just go off and with the, I guess, whatever makes the most sense to optimize the district money?
So may I interject? The only thing that I found was 7% like interest rate, I believe, unless there is another type of a financial instrument here, is the I bonds, and those are for individuals, and you are limited to buying $10,000 per individual per year. And I think you can do another $5,000 if you buy them electronically via Treasury's website. So I'm looking at, unless I'm looking at the wrong T-bills here, I don't see 7% here. I mean, maybe I'm looking at the wrong treasury.gov page here. Just so this is something we would need to kind of verify and explore, or if Mr. Wakeman perhaps would have you know, a source of this data that the manager and Dylan can look at. Kristen, or I mean, we would need to verify this, I think.
Yeah, I think given the relative bases of knowledge and expertise, it would be just appropriate to ask Doug to continue to optimize districts' investments in accordance with best practices. I'm certainly not qualified to say anything more than he is.
Okay, so Dylan, there's no potential requirement for a motion here?
No.
Okay.
Can we get Doug to look at whether or not we can do that, and what the rate would be, and if we're allowed to do that, and make that decision at the next board? We may, looking at the implications in this report, I mean, what he said is the advice was that they may raise interest rates up to 1%. I mean, this Bank of the West was already getting one on a 5-year. So it depends on where and what you're doing with it. I think we could start looking at little amounts and just keep it rolling, so that you always have something in and something growing. You're never going to hit the max, but you're not going to hit the minimum either. So keep it going. But if we can get that from Doug, then we can make a decision on it for how much in what vehicle next time.
Yeah, he'll continue to keep an eye out for changing interest rates right now. Just long-term investments are not good, and doesn't want something locked in, especially when the short-term investment could exceed current long-term investments, you know, by year end. He hasn't seen anything that's compliant with the investment requirements that's anywhere near 7%. So we can double check this lead, but it sounds like it's not applicable here.
Yeah, I would please just double check, but yeah, I would verify if it's the T-bills or if it's the I-bonds. I mean, you know, both are different financial instruments, so.
Okay, are we good then with Kristen under financial matters?
Yes, let's move on.
All right, Kristen, we'll close agenda item 8, financial matters, and we'll move on to agenda item number 9, district manager report. The floor is yours still.
Sure. Yep. So item A, employee accomplishments and compliments. I think not a lot going on over the Christmas holiday, the New Year's holiday. Things were pretty quiet. We got carpeting installed, things kind of back in place after that. So just regrouping after the holiday and getting everyone back on schedule. For the office HVAC, item B, Cook Mechanicals reviewed the agreement. They're ready to sign. We did have a discrepancy in the motion at the last meeting was to approve the work up to 75,000. And I said the quote was about 75,000, but it's 76 and some dollars. So spoke with Dylan. I think we just need to modify that motion in some way to cover the amount that's on the quote to begin with. And then we can put that correct dollar amount to the agreement and get the paperwork in place. They have sent submittals to be reviewed. And so I'm checking with Integrated Mechanical. I don't know if that was specifically included in their scope of work to review and approve submittals, or what level of construction administration they had for that. So I have I've reached out to Josh at Integrated Mechanical to see how we're going to process those submittals. But they're ready to order equipment and expecting with regular turnaround time that they would begin the work in February. So
is there any impact to the office staff during this?
I wouldn't think too much of, office staff. Some are working from home due to illnesses. People are here and there. We're flexible being able to have them work from home during that time if it's an issue, with noise or access or anything for Sam and Jesse while they're working in the basement. And then we'll have plenty of notice and clear the space for them in the garage when that's going on. So, as much as equipment goes out during working hours, and space is pretty available for them to work during normal hours.
Okay. So Dylan, do I need to retract the December motion regarding the HVAC fund authorization and make a new motion, or do I just
you can just update the motion or have a new motion to approve the bid amount?
Okay, just to make things simple, I'm going to make a motion to authorize funding up to $80,000. That way, if something comes in that we're not having to keep messing around here. So we'll increase the authorization spend to $80,000 with the bid coming in at $76,000 for the HVAC office upgrade.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
We'll insert the quote amount into that motion, maybe in the minutes. It's like 76.4 or something.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a little buffer in case there's another one of these things. This has been going on a lot. So.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Next item C.
Oh, hold it. Any discussion?
Finish that.
Any discussion? Call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 I believe we have 5 ayes, 0 nays. It passes 5-0. Please proceed.
Okay. Then on item C, the Raftellus rate study. I talked with Todd and Bobby at Raftellus. They've imported our data into the spreadsheets and we're able to clarify some things without an extensive list of questions. So they're just double checking and running those numbers. I should be meeting with them, including Doug, probably in about 2 weeks. We'll set an appointment for that to review the cases and the options for cases and the way that the model is set, just confirming everyone's understanding of everything. And then I think from that, they're prepared to present probably more towards the March meeting. So having the financial cases and the revenue cases with development fees and rates all presented in a comprehensive way at the March meeting.
Is there any way to speed that up? We have under agenda item 10C. There's a reason I'm asking you this right now, because we're going to be setting a date to increase fees going forward, and a component of that will be the Raptellus algorithm. Is there any way to have them expedite this?
I can talk with them and see what that might look like, or if that's possible. I'm not sure what they're running up against. They felt, I think, really pressed to do that by February, but I can ask what the other issues are.
Yeah, could you, when you find out, tell them we're kind of up against the wall as directors, and we would really like something sooner than later. And then what's the earliest date we could expect a completed project from them, or product?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
CDM Smith reviewing the wastewater master plan. We received their cost proposal in the draft agreement through the December timeframe. Dylan has reviewed that and doesn't have any concerns or revisions to the agreement. So I'll be putting in just the project specific information and signing that. That's within the limits, and the budget was approved. So we'll be moving that forward.
Do we need to motion that, Kristen? Okay.
No, I don't believe so. That was approved as the project was already approved, and the motion was to move forward so long as the proposal was within the budget.
Okay.
And the budget was approved for the year. So
yeah, I don't want these things slowing down. So okay, if we don't need it, good. All right.
Yeah, we're on track for that. I should be able to get that out the door this week.
And on that one, before it gets started, you'll get a good list together on the 6 places that they're going to be looking at, and we'll include one at the Rooney Valley and one for in Weir Gulch and on Union, maybe on South Kipling, if that's looking at, we're picking 6 detailed places to look at.
Okay, I don't think I caught that nuance, but I'll double check. To you have places in mind, or I should confer with the highlighted places in the wastewater master plan?
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely the Rooney Valley implication, where that's coming in. I guess we had 2 points under discussion now, but.
Okay. All right, I'll double check into that.
So Karen, can I ask you to please follow up with Kristen and send her an email, just so we're not, for clarity's sake, please?
Surely.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, sorry, I'm making myself some notes. The election services agreement arrived, so that's ready to sign.
I'll be in tomorrow to get all this stuff.
Okay. Dylan, it was very similar to the services agreement for the recall election. I don't know if you looked at any.
I did. I had the opportunity to review the CRS contract earlier today, and I had no concerns.
Okay. Sorry, my mouse is being funny. And then we're prepared to post the maintenance technician position that was listed. That does have to post now with the salary range. So I basically took the range from entry level up through CWP or operator level 4 because we don't currently have project or position descriptions that delineate entry level to like senior level operator. And so that's something that we have a position description for operator, but it encompasses everyone. And then we have descriptions that go on for like inspector and fleet services, but not differentiating the operators. So that entire range will go out, but the intent is to hire more towards the entry level position.
Okay.
So that's ready to post to fill the open position that's on staff still.
So can you make a note when we get into the new manager and the transition, can you make a note that these are the kind of things we need to probably get back at?
There's a big long note to do with
okay.
Positions and delineating compensation ranges and then moving forward with a compensation study. So
perfect. Thank you.
And I'm laying some groundwork for that. Trying to collect as much preliminary information as I can from Denver Water, who has done some of this work just to get they're willing to share like their position descriptions and things that we can compare against and just start playing apples to apples in the region. So
okay, thank you.
So that's ready to post. That would go out to AWA, the website, SDA website, and to the Red Rocks program, the water quality program there, typically posted. And then after that, I mean, there were some emails and a couple of things that went around. I saw the request to post the Denver water presentation. And then I also received the information about the fire website. I don't know if there was any background discussions about, is that information for general circulation? Is that stuff you'd like posted to the website in some kind of community resources space?
Ooh. Community resources, that would be good. What's the board's opinion on something like that? Because again, in light of the recent events, the website has been around for, well, several years that I've seen it. It just shows the levels of fire risk, wildfire risk, as far as I can tell, all around Colorado. So I don't know if the community might be interested in that. What do the directors think? I was the one who sent that out.
Mm-hmm.
Or just keep it on the board for now.
I don't see any reason not to inform the community as often as possible of as many things that could potentially affect us. I mean, with the fire situation, we are talking about water pressure, and that was apparently an issue with the fire. So.
Yes. Also, the Denver water presentation, Director Morgan, do you recall? I don't believe that was in any way confidential, just to share between the districts. So do you think the community would benefit from seeing that as well? Because that's the one we got from Denver Water about a year ago or so.
It is, yes, I recognize those. I think it might be available on Denver Water site, so I'd recommend checking to see if it's public from them first and maybe providing a link, but if not, I think we could, that's their public thing, put it up there. I think a community resource page is always a good thing. I agree with Director Garner. Put it.
So I don't think this requires a motion, right, Kristen?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll look to see if that presentation deck is at Denver Water site. We'll provide a link to it. Otherwise, we'll somehow provide the PDF itself. So, okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
I think that closes everything in.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kristen.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on to, we're closing agenda item number 9 and we're moving into agenda item 10, directors matters. So we have subset A, district manager hiring process. So we had the issue come up where we only received, we had sent out the questions from the directors to the down selected candidates. We only received 2 replies with a third. Per my request, Kristen reached out. There was a third candidate that had stated they were sick, then they're on travel. And then now they're asking for an additional 1-week extension. So that's where we're at right now. So we have 2 candidates on the OneDrive. I will open it up to the directors.
Somebody is asking, so we sent it out to 5, 2 withdrew, 1 wants more time. We have 2 answers. I did like seeing the answers, and that really helped supplement the resumes. So that was really good information. I am not inclined to extend time for anybody who couldn't make the deadlines, which is maybe unfortunate because it was over the holidays, but I think that was the rules for everybody. I would be interested in maybe backfilling those 3 openings, since 2 openings, since we had withdrawals. They weren't well candidates, and submitting a few more names and letting them go through this first written question part of it, extending that out a week for an additional 2, so that we have a full 4 directors to down select from.
You mean managers?
Yes.
Candidates.
Candidates. Yes.
we
You're right.
already we did that. We did that already.
Oh yeah, let's not do that again. Managers. Yeah. I think that would be, so my suggestion is, if anybody would like to see the next 2 on the list, we submitted top 3 names, take the next 2 on your list and give it to the subcommittee and send those people questions, and have it due next week, and go from there.
Just for clarification, we asked you all for names. There were only 5 names from all the directors. So we asked those 5. Jeff and I didn't do a down select. We just said all 5. And those 5 became 2 by self-elimination, one way or the other. I agree with you, Director Morgan, that the third party who didn't respond, we stated in our letter that it would be at the board's discretion whether or not we would allow additional time. And I've thought about it, and all 3 of those names were the 2 who survived, and the one who missed the opportunity were all on my list. And I've taken the third person off my list. I still have only 2. But the important point is that among the 5 of us, when we offered up our suggestions, or those we'd like to have asked the questions, there were only 5. So we'd be going back to people we regarded previously as not sufficiently qualified to be in the top 5.
Well,
I'm sorry, what I'm hearing you say is there were 5 that were in agreement, but they were perhaps not my type 5 and his top 5, but together there was a 5 in agreement.
There were no additional names beyond, I should go back and clarify. After we voted last meeting to establish a subcommittee, then we asked you for names. There were only 5 names offered among the 5 directors. We asked all 5 of those, the 11 questions. We heard from only 2 within the time limit. So if we go back and now bring forward 1, 2, or 3 additional names, they will be people that none of us identified as part of the initial group.
Is that a problem?
I'm inferring that there's a lesser quality there, or we would have moved them forward.
I would say, obviously they were not, and it looks like I'm just checking my email, we agreed on 3, so we only did 3, so I didn't have a 5. 3 names, but if I have them all ranked, so
Yeah, no,
I
mean,
would go down to do 4 and 5. So obviously you're right, it would be, but I don't see a problem in broadening the base just to make sure that we've covered all of our bases on this.
I don't have any problem with it either. I'm just pointing out that when we offered up names, all of us, all of those people were asked the questions. There were only 5. We almost all agreed on the 3 or 4 names.
You're right. And I'm sorry, but before I move on, I've neglected to say thank you for your work, because you guys did do, and that was over the holidays, and I'm sure it was pressing on both Director Garner and Director Baker to figure this out and move everything forward and get agreement on who's doing what on what questions and everything. So thank you all for your work, Matt.
If I can throw in my 2 cents worth at this point, I do agree that the 2 candidates that answered, I mean, they were actually my top 2 candidates, which I'm fine with that. My experience in the past, though, I have seen before where I have had people that I did not think were necessarily my first choice or my best candidate, yet because I wanted a kind of a more diverse group to interview, selecting someone else to come in, whether it be to answer the questions or just to interview, I don't think would be a bad thing for a couple reasons. One, obviously, if we didn't give them the choice to answer the questions, maybe if we do, we'll like their answers. The second thing is that a lot of times you might potentially have just a sleeper who on paper, maybe we do not think they're the pinnacle, but when you actually interview them and see their presentation or see their ability to think on their feet and whether their articulation, whether their intelligence, we may find that someone who didn't necessarily rise in the initial group is actually a decent candidate for the position. And so I don't know how many we want to add. I'm throwing out the one gentleman who was further down my list, but I did like, after going back and reading through, the Dario Diaz. I was going to throw his name back into the hat again.
Could we not mention names? I think there's a way to do this that will make it easier. And that would
we don't want to mention names, please.
Okay.
If the directors could all, since Karen suggested 5 names, adding 3 more, if we could all just send an email to Kristen with 3 additional names, we can go through the same process very quickly tomorrow and get questions out.
Okay.
Okay, Karen, do you have a proposal, or does someone, what would this look like? Is there some sort of a schedule with action items on dates so we can continue to move forward here?
I'd suggest, if you have anybody else you'd like to take a look at, send up to 3 names to the subcommittee tonight or by tomorrow, so they can get letters out. I guess that would go through Mr. Woods.
Oh, hold it. Let me, why don't you make this a motion
I
now?
would like to motion. I motion to accept more candidates for 1st round interviews. That would be sending up to 3 names for additional candidates to the subcommittee by tomorrow, January 12th, for letters to be sent out no later than January 13th, inviting them to answer the written questions provided to the previous candidates, to the previous round.
May I ask a question on the motion under the same term? So give them a week.
Well, hold it. We can have discussion. Let her get the motion out so we don't confuse the motion with the discussion, please.
Apologies.
Well, you're right. That should be in the motion. So that send the letters out with the previous questions that were used previously to be answered by next Tuesday. So January 18th. Just give them the weekend. Then have from there, everybody can down select, send your top pick from the interview questions by January 19th. So that would extend this process out through the 19th. It's a week.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Alex did this, not Alex, not Director Plotkin, Alex, who's recording all this. Were you able to capture all this, or do you need Director Morgan to restate the motion?
You're
Hey,
on
Alex,
mute,
you're
Jens.
still muted.
There we go. My apologies. So I have Director Morgan moved the board to accept more candidates for first round interviews, which would include submitting an additional 3 names to the committee that would result in letters sent to the top 3 candidates, and responses will need to be received by the 18th, and the committee to respond by the 19th with the top 3 candidates received.
Director Morgan, is that good?
I think so. So I think that hopefully my dates are right. Is anybody checking that? That makes sense.
I did not check the dates. I apologize.
I think that's right. So get response. The point is to get the responses back from these other candidates by the 18th, 1 week from today. And then we'll have the final selection, should it be anybody different, by the 19th. Okay.
Question. So you're okay with the shorter turnaround time for these 3 than the last grouping?
I think it's based on what we're, yes. Yes.
That's fine.
I think it's the same time.
The email went out on the 31st with required answer by the 7th. It was a full week.
Yeah, so this will be short if it gets sent out on Wednesday, possibly Thursday. It'd just be the weekend. You're right. That's short.
We could change it to Wednesday without any detriment.
If anybody, yeah, can we send out, can the directors, if you want another person to interview, can you get that done tonight? So that, and Mr. Woods, can we send all that out tomorrow, letters? Is that too rushing?
If I get names tonight or tomorrow, I can get it out tomorrow, yes.
Can we just let the motion stand with those dates? But if we can get it done tonight and tomorrow, that would move it up a day. That would be nice.
Okay, I will second your motion. Now we have discussion.
It's not a discussion, it's just a question. We're still proceeding towards potentially setting up a special meeting to have basically an interview of our top selected, whatever the bunch is going to be.
Yeah, it's shortly after that last date that I think Director Morgan had alluded to. I think we're going to try and get this done before
The next board meeting.
Board meeting, yes.
Okay, just clarifying. Thank you.
Dylan,
Go ahead.
Dylan, am I correct in that if we don't add a third person to this list of 2, that we essentially under the CEO level employee rules of Colorado that they become finalists, so we really would need to add a third?
Well, I think no. I think that the point at which the decision is made to proceed with only the 2 is the point at which they become finalists. There's no strict definition of what a finalist is, so it's since the board has taken a sort of two-tiered approach to this process, I would say whoever is in the second tier, or actually it'd be a 3-tier, whoever's in the 3rd tier is going to be the finalists.
Okay, yeah, I can read that within what's in the SDA handbook.
So then whoever the board determines or the committee determines to proceed with after the responses after this week, those will be the finalists, and we'll need to post that.
Right, and there's a certain time requirement there too.
Yes,
Yeah, 14 days prior to offering the position.
Which I think is, given the way the board meetings are scheduled, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
So
No
questions
further
would be due by Wednesday, the 19th,
Yes.
and then directors to reply to the committee, copy Kristen and Dylan with their
Top 3 for the final
top 3
actual.
for interviewing.
Yeah.
Would
Yes.
interview 3. Okay.
Yes.
I think it was questions due by Tuesday, the 18th. And
Okay.
then your top 3 picks to the subcommittee from those questions on Wednesday, the 19th.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
Just a clarification on how we're going to add the additional names. Where did you want those emails to go, Karen?
I was assuming to you and Director Baker.
Okay.
Go to Kristen you're the subcommittee who's doing the names.
They need to go to Dylan and Kristen.
We can send, the emails to multiple directors. I mean, one-on-one, yes, but not to
If you
multiple.
send to
so-
one of us, I would suggest
Gotcha.
Jeff just add me to that as a CC.
That'd be fine.
Then we can talk tomorrow and see how many names we have. I mean, perhaps we'll have 4 names rather than 3. I mean, it depends on what names you offer up. I mean, we don't want to exclude somebody who gets, 2 nominations from a couple of directors.
We may not get any responses either because this will
Well,
be
yeah,
a short
I mean,
time. And
yeah.
so, yeah.
I'm just trying to keep this
There's-
as fair and open as possible to everybody who sent a resume.
Okay.
And I don't think there's any harm in sending the questions if there are 4 names among all of the directors, send the questions to all 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did last time when we had the 5, because we really, there were 4 who were on everybody's list and then 1 that was an outlier and had 1 vote. And we included that person. We didn't hear back from them, but we included them.
Okay, any further discussion?
Oh, go ahead, finish the motion.
Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have a 5 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, so I'm just trying to work through the decision tree flow chart. Past that, we get directors submit their top 3 selections out of the interview, out of the written question responses.
Yes.
There's whatever agreement or disparity. Is there a meeting or just a report distribution of that to the board? Who's generating the interview questions for the in-person interview?
Okay,
Any of those kinds of things to the process.
So I think to help out the process, see if the board agrees, and I don't know if I have to motion with this, but I would say the majority, whoever majority of the directors of whatever the voting is on those top 3, that'll be our final 3. Is the board good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then to answer your next question, And I would propose this, that based on the questions that we had submitted to the final down selected 3 for the in-person interview, I would recommend that we spend our time going over their answers and exploring, going deeper into those questions. If the board is good with that, I would like to propose that.
Sure, we don't need to ask them all the same questions. We've already gone down that road.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is we would have their answers in the actual live interview, and then we could drill into things, use the results of that. Those answers could be the interview.
So in the past, we've always been lectured on how we have to ask the same questions of, you know, however many candidates there are.
It's the same thing, Alex. They all were asked the same question. They would have answered differently, uniquely per their responses. So I think we're within the okay framework. It's still the same questions. We would just be drilling into their answers in the final interview.
But in the process of drilling, if we are asking clarifying questions,
well, you can never ask exactly the same things.
Okay, no, I'm just not trying to be difficult. We've just always, you know, being grilled about being consistent.
Yeah, I'd asked Dylan this question before, and the answer I got back was we didn't need to ask the same questions, that their resumes present unique opportunities to question them on their experience. And obviously those questions cannot be the same for each individual.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll take the resume with their answers that we've submitted to them, and that's going to generate the interview per that individual.
Okay, but who will kind of generate and sort of plan that interview and make sure that we're remotely on track to maybe answer that person in an hour each?
Well, my suggestion would be that we dedicate 45 minutes to questions from the directors. And if we take 30 minutes, fine. If we take 45, fine. And if we want to decide at the moment that we really want to go beyond 45, we can do that. But I would suggest 45 for each for 3 interviews is more than, will be more than sufficient.
So Kristen, I would lay out an hour. You'd have 45 minutes with a 15-minute buffer. And we could throw, you know, so you'd have another 15-minute buffer if we start, I don't know, it's potential. I would put an hour, I would slot an hour per candidate.
I would put an hour to each and 10 minutes probably in between, so they're not arriving and overlapping.
Yes, please.
Or
and we do need to make this an in-person. I guess that's the other thing to put out.
I would recommend hybrid. I don't think everyone I mean, I don't know what space you want to plan for. But I would definitely make it hybrid so that if it was crowded and there was room for people to attend.
Directors?
Have the directors and the candidates in person at a minimum.
I prefer to do in-person interviews so that I can see, I guess, them literally, for lack of a better term, close up. And then I guess I also know that they're not, maybe if they're there, that they're not, I don't know if we could almost isolate them so they cannot hear what the other candidates are saying. Because I feel like if the initial ones can kind of cheat and crib, or sorry, the later ones off the initial ones, unless somehow we keep them separate. Unless there's
the last round, they weren't in the room. They were asked to arrive at their arrival time.
Okay.
That's why you have that 15 minutes between their open and closing, and that's that window for exchanging folks into the building, into the room.
Okay. Well, is it possible to also have, like, you know, Jesse or Sam not allow them into if there's an online portion, to not allow them?
Yeah. If they were listed as a participant, they wouldn't be allowed into the meeting room.
Okay.
Presuming
We have to manually allow every attendee or let them into the meeting. So we can selectively add and remove people as needed at any time.
Okay.
I'll ask the touchy question. How will you handle a mask order in this case? Would you prefer to see their faces online on a camera?
Yeah, I'd rather not be masked up. I mean, that's the thing about being able to see and understand people. So I would not want to be masked up, and I wouldn't want to be interviewing somebody masked up because I want to be able to read their face.
I agree.
Directors, other directors.
I agree with that, but I thought are you thinking to do the meeting room? Last time we did it in the garage so that there would be space. It was a little awkward. But maybe is that the concession for being in person? Do you think we can do it in the meeting room with just board? It'll have to be a hybrid meeting. Yeah.
I don't think there are any good answers to this.
Well, and just as well, we should also survey the applicant's level of comfort with any given scenario, right?
There's some time to work through it, so it doesn't have to be decided.
Well, I think it sounds to me, Kristen, like we're almost in a hybrid thing or something where it's probably going to have to be virtual unless Jeffco lifts this mandate or modifies it somehow. So we have to stick within those rules. So.
Well, just for the other people who's going to be doing too for the public. But I do think Director Plotkin has a good point in what the other people are going to be. Something to think about. I think no matter what, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So we're going to be reading body language and facial expressions. And that's just the way it is these days.
And we may have someone who's in our top 3 who is not in Colorado. Unless we're willing to bring them in for the interview.
Good point. Well, why don't we, so right now, can we move forward on at least getting to the level of the interview? Kristen, let's see what the temperature of the water is with this mask thing when we're getting up on that deadline, and then we'll have to make that decision then. Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just a point for discussion, and it's your decision. Okay. Yeah, I just want to be sure someone's outlined to write the questions that they're kind of in place and assessed that they can be answered in 45 minutes. Typically, you know, I presented a recommendation last time that you even advise the person that we have X number of questions and you have 45 minutes. So the candidate can kind of gauge their answers and pace themselves if it's important to know that they're going to get through all the questions, that they don't ramble on about something, but they know they have other items to address.
I guess I have a very different point of view on that. I would like our questions to be spontaneous and come from our experience of reading their resumes and their questions and their comments in the moment.
Okay.
So I'm afraid I'm opposed to scripted questions at the end.
Well, this process with the written round was different as well. So that changes how the interview would run. Okay.
All right. Are we good on this for right now, directors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so
I'm sorry, it's always me. If there's a down selection and we have our top 3 by the 19th, do you want to think about when that meeting is? Are we going to be looking at when is the interview?
Yeah, I would like to see it before the next board meeting if possible.
Do we have, I heard Director Garner say we had to give notice. Mr. Woods, is that right? How much notice do we need for our for posting names?
When you have selected your finalists, you
Yes.
must give 14 days notice before making a decision, a final hiring decision.
Okay.
That's for the finalist, or that's for the final selected manager, correct?
Right.
No, that's for
Well-
that's for the finalists. So on the
Earl,
19th, after you all submit your top 3 and we take the majority vote of who the top 3 are, by the 20th, we would need a signature on a notice that says these are the finalists. So Alex planned to stop by on the 20th and sign that notice, and then we would post it to the website.
Okay.
So that would be on the 20th. So you could not make an offer to hire until that would put you on the 3rd. You could extend an offer to someone by on or after the 3rd of February.
We could extend an offer on the 3rd, so we could interview on the 25th, perhaps?
On the 25th, if you can, turn around everyone's availability,
Yes.
or
Okay.
on the 1st, or if you want to stick to Tuesdays. I don't, if this is
Okay.
something you want to move to another night of the week.
Okay, so we can see what they have available and try and schedule a meeting out before the 3rd is the point, so that we can do as soon as we can. Soonest availability after the 25th would be the soonest we could meet, even because the 20th is Thursday. I'd suggest trying to interview on the 25th if we can, because that would be if the directors are available, see if our candidates can. And if not, throw out some dates until there. Does that make sense? What are you thinking, Director Gardner? Because
I'm a little confused. I mean, SDA doesn't give us a lot of help here, but I'm confused as to when the 14-day clock starts. I guess I could use Dylan's wisdom there.
Well, yeah, and the statute is not especially clear. It depends when you have finalists. So there isn't going to be any more paring down after this round until the selection of the hiree.
Right.
So when this paring down has occurred, those will be the finalists. Those finalists' names need to be made public. And then a hiring decision can't be made sooner than 14 days after that list is made public.
Right.
The decision or the extension of the offer?
The decision. Well, yeah, so it's no offer of appointment or employment shall be made prior to this public notice, no later than 14 days prior to appointing or employing a finalist to fill the position. I would err on the side of not extending the offer and also not making the decision.
Okay.
So basically, if we have the interview hypothetically on the 25th, then we would put the offer at 14 days out. I mean, the notice, not the offer, 14 days out from that?
No.
Or are we doing the 14 days notice out from the 19th?
From the 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make our down selection as soon as we all have a chance to read the responses.
which the deadline for that is the 18th or the
Right.
19th.
So
Yep.
it's a one-day effort. We'll just have to get on,
Yep.
dedicate the time.
And Mr. Woods, I'm hearing that you're suggesting that we do not interview then until 14 days after the 19th, the
yeah.
20th to be posted. So we're looking at February 3rd for our first possible interview date.
No, you're free to interview them at any time.
Oh,
Just
okay.
not to extend the offer.
Okay, but if we made a decision at the interview time,
Then that decision, I would counsel that you make that decision more than 14 days after.
okay. So,
So it might take 2 meetings, or you just do your meeting 14 days after the posting, the
Okay.
interview meeting.
okay. So maybe we can schedule interviews before then, around the week of the 25th there, and take our time to think about which ones we liked, and do the vote through the committee again, or through
At the
Well,
board
whatever
meeting,
it is. That
at the
needs
at
to
board
be,
meeting, yeah.
yeah.
Could you proceed with something and then also have to, do you want to do anything to pursue references and make sure references come in clear so you could make a decision, pursue the references, and then get all of that in a row before you decide on the 3rd? So at least you're continuing some of the process, because I guess I don't know where you all are with, contacting references and following through, or do you want to do references to all 3 finalists, at some time up to and maybe after the interview if it takes time? My experience with references last time was it took, a couple of rounds of, or at least a few days to hear back from folks. I think I sent everything by email, but it sometimes took time to hear back from them.
I've kind of thought that would be something that Director Baker and I would take on as part of our process.
Sure.
And we
Yeah,
both
it's just
have
a question
experience.
of,
We both have experience of doing that. I'm a 24/7 kind of guy when it comes to harassing people on the telephone for, references.
okay. My question is the timing, is that concurrent with the interview process? Is it to all 3?
I would say it's
That are
an
interviewed.
ongoing process.
Okay.
Can I suggest looking at a possible special meeting for interviews then on February 1st? And that we could interview and make the decision that way. February 8th. We would be clear. We'd have it posted by the 20th. That would be more than the 14 days. We can do everything at that meeting.
Sure.
The 8th?
The 8th, if I'm looking at it right, is Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's your regular meeting date.
I was gonna say that's the
it's-
second Tuesday of the
Oh,
month.
that's the second Tuesday, even though it's yeah, you're right. Okay. We can't do it. Director Plotkin, you're still busy on Thursdays? Because the 3rd is the first day we can do it, and you have typically been unavailable on Thursday. I mean, we've got Thursday, Friday, a Monday meeting before Monday the 7th.
I mean, personally, I prefer like Sundays at about 1 p.m. Let's see. You said the 3rd, the Thursday?
Thursday the 3rd or Monday the 7th.
Let's go with the 3rd, I think, because I mean, it's just gonna have to be, it is what it is. And it's still be an evening meeting.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
has to be.
Okay.
Director Hooks, are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are we good on this clear now, or do we have any more statements, comments, questions? Okay. We're gonna move on to 10C, discussion regarding system development fees.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry, one more brain thing. If we're gonna, we are,
Karen.
I know, it never stops. Is any of this other stuff that is going on, do we need to have any of that added if we're gonna do a special meeting for the interviews? That's enough to do in one meeting, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Okay. All right, SDFs, Director Plot, can you put this on the agenda?
So, you know, due to the rigor mortem of the last year or so, we were delayed from addressing SDFs in the effective manner. And if everyone recalls, last time we raised the SDFs was 2020 something, don't remember the exact meeting. Looked back through some of the stuff on OneDrive. That's why I asked Kristen to re-forward that all to the board. At that time, we based the percentages on the ENR index, I believe. Well, the inflation has been pretty drastic in the last year and a half or so. So my initial thought was to basically adjust the SDFs with a proper notice and everything based on, you know, just the financial numbers from the last year and a half. However, you know, as we heard earlier, Raftellus may or may not be ready to present in February. So I just wanted to get the board's sense for how should we do this? You know, what would be the most efficient, or do we adjust the fees based on inflation? And then additionally, you know, once Raftellus is ready, adjusted based on their input. Furthermore, there's some of the additional materials which I asked to be forwarded to the board as well in light of the fire here in December and other things. And as was mentioned, specifically, pressure was an issue. How do we correctly start pricing all of those things in is one of my biggest questions. And just wanted to get everybody's ideas and input on how do we do this. But it's, in my mind, it's not a question of if, it's a question of how.
So I would like to propose creating a subcommittee with Director Plotkin and Director Hooks, starting to gather information on this, to include the Raftellus study. And I think we need to probably putting out a notification that at some point we're going to be raising SDF fees. So I don't know when that would be, but you need to understand, I think you got to have a 30-day window for that.
Yes.
So maybe you need to make a motion now, and then when you start working a committee, at least you're covered. If you do the motion now and it's passed, then as we start, you know, you and Director Hooks can start coming up with some different ideas and present at the next board meeting, if that works for both of you.
So when you're saying system development fees, is that where we're discussing tap fees?
Yes.
Okay, and tap fees alone or any other additional fees?
Tap fees alone, SDFs.
And when we say that, it's water, and the water and sewer are, you know, separate amounts. So.
Right. Okay. That is fine with me.
So again, my question is then, do we wait for Raftellus? It sounds like they may or may not be ready in February. And even if they were ready, I don't know if they would come with something that was good enough to be a number that the board can then vote on, or what are the thoughts on all of that?
Well, that's why I want to propose that you and Director Hooks go off and start gathering supporting information, and possibly have maybe make a motion tonight, see if we want to consider that, at least to create the window. And then you guys can present whichever the next item is at the next board meeting. We'll put a placeholder in and you can update the board.
So I guess I could make a motion to put in a placeholder for, well, that would be another special meeting in February. If there is any appetite for that. Is there any appetite for a special meeting for the SDF, say, you know, hypothetically on the 22nd or the 25th. No, I'm sorry, 24th of February.
Well, you just have to make the motion that this is going to happen. And then it has to happen outside of that 30-day. You have to go 30 days from today.
Well, I make
30 days from the notice.
Yeah, 30 days from the notice. So.
But I know that Raftellus is envisioning regular meetings at the beginning of the month. Would it be of interest to see if they could present by the 22nd, which is 2 weeks earlier than the March meeting? And then maybe have notice for a discussion and potential, consideration of the fees on the 8th at that regular meeting. That's pending if they can do it, but I would think, asking them to press a couple of weeks and not 4 weeks might be doable.
Yeah, this is what my sense of urgency was around for this reason. And we are potentially leaving money off the table is why I don't want to extend this out. It's for our, so that's just my opinion.
Not leaving. I think we already left money on the table, just again, due to the circumstances that I mentioned in the opening. So I would say, tentatively speaking, let's see if Raftellus can do a presentation on the 22nd. Do most directors, Dylan, Kristen, are you available then? Yes, no, maybe.
I should be available.
Okay, so tentatively speaking, and then I'll make a motion for the 8th. So I make a motion that on the 8th of March at the regular board meeting, the board considers raising of the system development fees. Is that sufficient enough, Dylan?
Yes.
Second.
Was that you, Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. So in the meantime, if Raftellus hopefully comes through on the 22nd, then we'll have information to act upon. In the meantime, Director Hooks and myself will do some homework as well. And either way, so I guess I can also make a motion to form a subcommittee on the SDF study with Director Plotkin and Hooks.
Make the motion. Okay, good. Discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Yes, sounds good, but I'm sorry, can you clarify again? So that you're saying you're asking for that report to be done by the 22nd? Was that a presentation? Was that a special meeting? You're just saying you would like that done for our review and then we could talk about it at the March meeting.
Well, so ideally, Raftellus will be there on the 22nd with their work product, whatever it may be, and for us to consider, and hopefully it results in us having good information to pick a number based upon, is that even a proper sentence? I apologize.
Okay.
And then on the 8th, we will have come back with a number, either based on what Raftellus tells us or some other means, and then we'll be taking a vote, if there is a vote. Does that sound like a plan?
That works for me. I mean, I think what I was actually hoping is that I can go in, maybe I can go in through like the real estate portion and just see if I can get all of the tap fees by county in the metro area, and then use that as a basis for, I guess I'm not sure how the Raftellus would play into that, but if we use just literally the abutting counties, I think we'd have a pretty fair representation of what the going rate is for water and sewer taps.
That's a perfectly good place to start. The only thing I've been told in the past, the only consideration is try to look at other master meter districts versus, so just for consideration of, we do not have water processing facilities, so I don't know how that plays into it.
Well, and so that's what you guys as a committee need to, you know, go ahead and do some data mining
Yep.
here.
So
Not- let's try not to do it here because it's a huge can of worms. We do have the Raptellus online. That's going to be an algorithm coming up. You guys can look at other variables, etc.
Right.
Practice.
all right, Mr.
So
Hooks
do we-
and I will talk offline.
Do we have a motion out there? I'm starting to fade here a little
We
bit.
just voted on 2 of them. I think we're good to go. So
Okay.
notice for the March 8th, hopefully on the 22nd. So Kristen, please, you know, post a meeting for 22nd as well, and then reach out to Reftellus to see if they'll be ready by then.
Does that need to be motion, Dylan?
No,
Okay.
not the special meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further discussions on the SDF fees at this time?
No.
Okay, I'm going to close out item 10 and we're going to move on to item 11, legal matters. Dylan, you have the floor.
Thanks, everybody. Most of the items that I was going to talk about have already come up in prior portions of the meeting. Director Plotkin asked me to also circulate a recommendation that I made several months ago about updating the district's Cora policy. I will resend that email per his request, but also I think that that's something that we should take up with the new director upon hire. Since that's going to be something that district manager. The district manager is going to be responsible for enforcing. Earlier today, I also finalized and sent out the litigation update email. I hope everybody had an opportunity to take a look at that. It included quite a number of attachments, all of the pleadings that have been filed in the various litigation matters since the last meeting. There are none particularly of note. For the most part, they're just extensions of time and objections to the bill of costs. Mr. Gessler is going to be filing his reply to the objections tomorrow, based on his most recent request for an extension of time. I understand that he was under the gun on some deadlines, and that's why he requested that additional time. Got an email earlier today about a possible boundary overlap with Consolidated Mutual, and that was from Sam McKay. I have not had an opportunity to delve into that issue, but I just wanted to let the directors know that that's on the board to be examined, essentially. And if there's anything that I need to update the directors about regarding that, I will do that. I have notes here to prepare a memo for Alameda and those issues, and I will do that for the next meeting. And I will also look for those names for the district manager search and get those emails out as quickly as I can. Are there any questions for me?
I think we're good.
All right, that
I
does
of
it
course
for
have a
me.
question. I'm sorry.
Okay. No.
Can you give us any, I know we talked about the Ravine Bridge, but what do you suggest course of action would be regarding that erosion path and the effect of that on our bridge and costs?
Yeah. So I went out on the site visit today with Terry and Austin, and we did discuss that. And I think that based on that discussion, I think that there is still a reasonable likelihood that we can get Lakewood on some sort of time frame to address the erosion issues, especially if the district does substantial work in that area, either rerouting the sewer line or rehabilitating the structure or whatever the directors determine is appropriate to do in that area. I don't think that there's going to be anything done by Lakewood prior to that work being done, but before sympathetic members of Lakewood government are no longer involved in that their government roles, I think we can talk them into doing something about it, something positive.
You're talking about them fixing the erosion. And if we reroute it, that won't be a factor anymore because we'd have to take down that the existing structures and then reroute it. So at that point, it doesn't matter. What would make
probably doesn't.
Well, it may still matter. You're still crossing the same ravine.
Yeah, but the erosion at the other crossing point is not as severe. So that's why it would be, the other crossing point would be much better. Plus it's closer to the road. So it would be better for future maintenance as well. It's really just down that path and it's down where people have been walking through. So if it gets rerouted, that erosion problem and asking them to fix it doesn't matter. The damage has been done to us and we will have to figure out how to pay for all of that. So it would be nice to be recouping some of that because of the erosion from them. Is there any path to get money because of that damage?
Almost certainly not, other than their voluntary choice to do that, which I think is highly unlikely.
They have no obligation to maintain that land and the erosion. That is just no obligation to do that. So if I mean, I have done that at my house where they've had drainage just coming off and eroding through, and even just with weeds after it seems hard to believe that we can have a $500,000 structure sitting there eroding through and not be able to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any control over that land.
Right. They do have some obligations. But they don't have any particular specific obligations. You know, they have an obligation to do their government functions, but not this drainage improvement or harm reduction project in this particular time frame, that sort of thing. You know, the argument from their side would be, yes, we were going to get to it. It's on the 2028 schedule, and or whatever. But they know they really don't have an obligation to protect the structure from what is essentially an environmental condition.
Okay. How about the use of the park and the paths that have been leading to it that they advertise on the website? They have been maintaining that bridge until now.
Yeah, there's probably also no legal way to hold them to that. No.
So if we remove our structure, what is our obligation after removal?
I don't think that there is any feasible engineering alternative that's going to produce no structure in that area. One of those crevices is going to have to be crossed to get that line from the northwest to the southeast. I don't think there are any proposals currently for a structure that would be pedestrian accessible. And I think even the rehabilitation of the current structure is probably going to include demolition or modification to prevent future pedestrian access. And I don't think that the district has any obligation to permit continued pedestrian access. Does that answer your question?
Interesting information, but no, it doesn't. I was thinking of if we removed the structure and do some minor mitigation of the, so I guess is the northeast side of that erosion area, we're done and finished, we walk away.
And you leave just the pipe with some sort of truss?
No, we just remove the whole structure.
The pipe would come out too, because we're rerouting it. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, if you reroute the line and just demolish that structure entirely, I don't think anyone has any cause to object to that. Anyone with any power or authority, I understand there's a concern that the community members want to continue using that as a pedestrian access point, but they don't have any claim to continue doing so in any way that would prevent the district from removing that structure.
I was actually thinking about negotiating the sale of the structure for $1 to the city of Lakewood.
My off-the-cuff analysis of that is that they would decline because they don't want the responsibility.
Good creative thinking, though. I think that this information, given the level of their attention to the erosion so far, if you're saying that there's no way to hold them accountable for that, that we have absolutely no choice but to reroute that.
Yeah, I see that as the only alternative. I'm just thinking of how we best can extricate ourselves from any responsibility while satisfying the needs of the community. To the extent that some people think it's important to have that particular crossing of the ravine. And then the erosion's the city's problem, which would be justifiably fun to watch.
I think there's some likelihood that the district could work with Lakewood if the board chooses to go the rehabilitation route to get that erosion control mediation or remediation performed sooner or in concert with that rehabilitation project. I haven't talked to anyone about that, but I think that it's possible.
I have many reservations, which I'll just keep to myself, but I appreciate some of the directors at least trying to be creative and come up with potentially cooperative solutions, which again, I have my reservations about the potential outcomes and ways to proceed. But thank you for those are really good ideas.
All right, any further discussion on that? Dylan, is that it for legal?
Yes, unless there are any further questions for me.
We did add the ethics onto the agenda? Ethics complaint?
Oh, yes. Director Plotkin, do you want to take that up?
Yeah, I just wanted to see the board's appetite for filing an ethics complaint based on, everything that's transpired, and see if I should make a motion.
And just as a reminder from the last board meeting, it was our firm's position that we do not have an ethical obligation to make a report about prior counsel's behavior. And that John Cody, my partner, and I were going to continue talking about whether we were going to do so on our own, independent of that obligation. With the holidays and some sickness in the office, we haven't had an opportunity to discuss that at length, although I did talk to Director Plotkin a little bit about it. And I told him what I will tell you now, which is that if the board directs us to make a report on its behalf, we will of course do that. And that would sort of obviate our conversation about whether we're going to do so independently.
Would you like to be relieved of that decision?
I take no position at all on that question.
Okay, Alex, you do what you got to do if you're going to do it.
Well, I would like to make a motion for an ethics complaint to be filed on behalf of the board, the district as the client. Do I have a second?
I will second. Discussion?
And this is against previous council concerns that Mr. Woods had brought up before. So is this, my impression is that the work is mostly done on that. Is that true, Mr. Woods? And how much time are we talking about taking?
Yes,
I mean, not duration wise, is this a big ask?
No,
Okay.
no, I would say that, yes, you're correct that the bulk of the work on that issue has already been done.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Dylan, is there a process by which a complaint can be withdrawn?
I think that the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel takes a once we get started, we keep going approach to things. So I think probably yes, but I think that once they start finding, if they find behavior that is sufficiently unethical, the cart takes off on its own.
So what is the upside to us with this complaint as the board, as the water district?
I think that there's the possibility that, at least with the malpractice case against prior counsel, the Eisnogel firm, there is a limited outstanding financial claim that prior counsel could raise as a result of that litigation that the district would be best off avoiding. And I think that going down the route of making a claim of unethical conduct would put the district in a better position to avoid that risk.
Okay, so it's almost a way for us to be in a stronger position against them asking for additional money they think they are potentially due.
Right.
In my view, if we believe the district has been wronged, our district members have been wronged, then it's not just an ethical obligation from the attorneys, but it's an ethical obligation of the board to seek redress for that wrong. So I'm inclined to support the motion.
I agree. Call the question.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All
we
right.
have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
I will work with John to get that done.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that now closes out item 11. Karen? Anything else?
No, yes, of course.
I knew it.
Yeah. So do we need to schedule something? I am a little confused on the Mattergenics on what we're allowed to be saying, or do we need to schedule something, put that on the agenda for next time to get an in-depth? I did not realize that that was going to be a watch what you say matter at this point. What do you suggest for future plans on we don't need to do that now. Do we need to have any advice on cautions to what not to say, what to watch? I think we're done for now until we get some new information, but do you see anything else, Mr. Woods, we need to know?
No, Terry's concern that I shared was just that circulating the report itself prior to having a final version could have been detrimental if there were some information in there that was not favorable to the district's position, which was later amended. And since that is not the case, at least, we thought that it would be fine to have the discussion about it. So it's primarily the release of the draft report that we were concerned about rather than discussions about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, my only concerns, going back to earlier in the meeting, was that when engineers have dissenting opinions, opposing counsel finds those dissenting opinions highly useful.
Yes. And multiple draft reports that have been revised following conversation with lawyers is not what I want to see in litigation either.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been down that road before.
Well, and that kind of to third or second or fourth that line of thinking is why I was asking, is there something that Mattergenics is saying that why would it need to be polished, I guess is my question again. So yes, Dylan, please kind of oversee the whole conversation, and any of the directors to be present at that, please make sure that we get the best possible whatever it is for the district out of it. Yes, again, I have some concerns that I don't want to state here on the record, and maybe we do need an executive session after this transpires.
And I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, any further?
I just want to make one comment just generally, and if Chris, you could see if this is possible. Will I have an iPad before the end of my term in May?
Jesse and Sam?
I had been told that we weren't going to do that
were-
anymore.
Yeah, I thought we had not, the board did not want iPads anymore.
I don't know where that came from.
Mistaken.
We need 2 iPads, 2 more iPads for whoever doesn't have one.
Don't base anything on my opinions, please.
Okay, we will turn that around immediately. My apologies. I thought my understanding was that we weren't the board didn't want iPads. So we will see what we have in remaining stock of the secondhand iPads from the field staff. And if there's nothing of quality, we get a pretty nice deep discount through our government plan through T-Mobile. So I will take a look at that first thing in the morning.
The only reason I bring it up is navigating my own business's office.com with the district's office.com killed my Windows 10. And it's good. I have to replace my PC.
That sounds, if you'd like me to take a look at stuff, I'd be happy to take a look at your computer and see if we could maybe figure out what has gone haywire.
Yeah, it's because I have an NSA grade firewall.
And well, let's not talk about that on a recorded meeting. If you want to call me tomorrow, I'd be happy to discuss the specifics of it and see if there's a way. No, we can still get you an iPad, regardless. But
I just rather do that and not have to deal with it because my IT consultant charges me way too much money.
I have over the 16, 17 years, I guess, however long I've been here now. I have helped many a board of director with their computers for benefit of the district. So if you'd like some assistance, I'm more than happy. It's not a burden. It's what we do. So more than happy to assist.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sorry for the.
Yeah, well, regardless, I will get an iPad going. Do you need it to be to have a cellular network, or are you comfortable using it exclusively with Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi is fine.
Okay. A screen size preference?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Then we'll get going on that first thing in the morning. I do need to, I guess now is as good a time as any. I need to communicate with, well, I need to meet with all of the board of directors to set up some features on your office accounts. And I will, it's something we could do remotely, but I'll need to connect with each board member. So would phone or email be best to schedule that with all of you?
Either way for me, it doesn't matter.
Just the best way to reach it, I think. Sorry, what's that, Jeff?
Either way with me, I'll be in tomorrow.
Okay. I will not, I'm quarantining myself until after my daughter's MRI procedure on Thursday so that there's no risk of us getting COVID and then having to cancel that and reschedule it weeks on out. So I have a huge slew of medical stuff going on Thursday with her, but after that, we're probably in the clear. So I will not be in the office tomorrow, but any of this work can be done remotely. Would you, as far as email goes, would you prefer the district email or your personal emails contacting you?
District.
Okay.
And Jesse, I've been humming along just using the web client stuff, so I'm okay for now. So no need to worry on my part. Please just set the others up.
This is about login procedure.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll have to contact every board member about some login procedure stuff. But as far as the iPads go, if you're comfortable with the web client, I happen to think it's a little more operable than some of the apps from time to time. But the apps are really helpful, obviously, when you're on the go, because you can have a tablet or phone. And for Dave, you don't want to crisscross environments. That makes total sense. So my apologies again. I just completely, it's been a really hellish 6 weeks and my brain is pretty melted. So I apologize. I just got that crossed somewhere in there. So.
And yeah, as far as contact for me for the login stuff, just please, just district email, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will do.
Sorry to confuse the things. Thank you,
No,
Jesse.
no problem.
Anyone else need to be set up with an iPad? Todd, were you interested?
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay, so just Dave?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, no problem. We will get you all set up. No issues. That's all I had.
Okay. Dylan, do we require an executive session?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, we'll close out item 12, no executive session. Agenda item 13, new business notifications for next board meeting. I think we put a lot of things on the calendar. Kristen, are you okay or clear with everything?
I believe so. Do you want an executive session for Matogenics noted on the next regular board meeting? Does the
Yes.
committee expect to make progress
Yes.
and have discussion then? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I have that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, anybody else, any notifications or new business we need to post? Okay, I
No,
will.
but just to clarify, we're having, so that means we're done, and we did motion to have another special meeting February 3rd, regular meeting February 8th, special meeting February 22nd. Then March 8th. Okay, and then everybody will get names in tonight or tomorrow for if you want another pick.
Get
Well,
your
and-
name, and if you have names,
If you
put
have
'em-
names.
Okay,
I would just ask if you don't have names, please also send that. So we're not waiting for someone's response.
exactly. Thank you.
You won't have one from me. I'm done.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I move to item number 14. I motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I second it.
We have a second. Do we have discussion? Call the question. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're doing better. It's 9:35, so.
Well
good
done,
job,
Jeff.
everyone.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Everyone
you
have a
very
good
much.
evening. Thanks for all the
Thank
support
you.
tonight, staff. Good job. Thank you on the water break and great response time.
Thank you for the members of the public that stuck with us for 3 hours.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Good
Thanks,
night.
guys.
Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
everybody.
Night.
Good night.